Hey, Good Fox here. Today we got episode number 104 of the MUT Men podcast. I'm joined as always by the Texas boy. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, Mr. Fox. How you doing?
I'm doing well too. Any text messages for us this week?
Nah, this is a boring week in the life of Texas. I didn't do anything besides sleep and edit, so nothing crazy.
That's not what I got a direct message on yesterday about, but we won't get into that. We got a very special guest on with us today. His second time appearing on the pod, Jake Stein. How are you doing?
What's going on? Good to be back. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Just want to say thanks for having me. I got all kinds of great feedback after my first time. I think we timed it right before EA Play last year, right?
Yeah, it was in June. So for those who weren't around with us last year, about 10 months ago, Jake here, he's a producer for Madden Ultimate Team. So we'll be going through the mode of MUT today. We're not going through Madden gameplay. We're going to go through MUT and kind of get feedback, ask questions about it. Last year it was pretty interesting because by June you kind of already had 19 thought out, right?
18.
Oh, 18. Sorry, 18. Yeah.
I wish we had 19 thought out at that point. Yeah, no, we had pretty good. By the time we get to that point, you have a pretty clear sense of certainly your main pillars. You know, being on Ultimate Team, there are things that, being more of a server-driven mode, we have the opportunity to kind of have a little longer tail in the dev cycle where we're still kind of massaging the content. But yeah, by the time June comes around, we definitely have a good idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah, but by server-driven mode, you mean like for stuff you can just update on the server, like the Ultimate Team stuff that comes in quickly. You don't have to give like patches out for, right?
That's right. Yeah, when I say server, that's something that we can sort of deploy on the fly without any downtime. From the client where you guys have to get knocked off or anything, and certainly not where you have to install a patch every time that we drop content.
Yeah, so for everybody that wants to know about Jake and kind of his background as like a person who was into MUT and then kind of got to the Game Changer and then working with MUT, check out that first podcast from June. It kind of gives us history, so we won't retread that ground. But right now in April, sorry, my controller vibrated. I'm ghosting a MUT Squads game right now just so I can get Night Train lane wins. So basically in April though, you're not really. Do you have like a plan for 19 yet, or what you guys want to do, or not?
There are some big picture things that we kind of have there. I guess the analogy would be we sort of have a good outline of different things that we want to do, and we are probably on the cusp of trying to start coloring inside those lines at this point.
Oh, that's
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Texas, any thoughts on that?
Not right now.
Okay. We'll get into the questions we have. I'll go, then Tex will have one, and then we'll just go back and forth. So, all right, my first one up, I think is one of the biggest things biggest complaints of this season. NAT 18 is kind of what people are calling MUT 18. And one of the biggest reasons we play MUT is to build our dream team. The NAT rewards takes away that aspect from us. The game becomes building a team based on random chance. I know we've had some recent promos that you've been able to like choose your stuff or basically get every single card from the promo. But so in 17, right before we talked last time we talked about, I talked about how much we didn't like NAT rewards, but it seems like you guys doubled down on that going into 18. Why was the decision made to go so much harder with NAT rewards?
I think ultimately what the team wanted to do was we wanted to be able to give better rewards that were non-auctionable tradable. I believe last time we talked, there was a little bit of a discussion around, is it VIP 2000 or 2500? I can't recall. And it wasn't great. And at the time I sort of teased at you what ended up being the feature of fantasy packs, and it was that element of choice that we wanted to bring into the mode. So I think there's still plenty of opportunity to continue optimizing what that element of choice looks like. Those are not, I would say, easy things on the content side for us to build at a quick pace, but we've seen some success there, right? When you look at Gauntlet Unleashed this year, I think even you were kind of critical, or maybe like jokingly said like, I can't believe they're making us have the choice. Of course, I want to take the better NAT version of the thing rather than, sort of like take my chances on the auctionable tradable item. So it's a little bit of
You like giving us choice. Yeah.
I do because kind of a common theme that I'm sure we'll hit on a couple of different times in this podcast is, it's really impossible for us to deliver the right piece of content that speaks to each and every type of person who's coming into Ultimate Team, and where they might be on their journey. So the more times that we can go in there and try to give elements of choice, whether that, again, things like those fantasy packs are easy examples. Another one that comes to my mind randomly is, for Zero Chill, when we had those upgradable snow beasts and you got to choose basically like which one of those 4 guys you wanted to invest in, things like that. I think are what good looks like for us, and we just need to continue finding more ways to implement that into our content.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you guys think of that, because I know the biggest downside. I mean, say they get rid of NATs in 19. Do you think people will complain about the lack of high overall rewards at that point? Like if you completely get away from them, Jake?
Yeah. I think we're certainly open to that, right? Like, hey. Spoiler alert, we are open to getting criticized. So if we were to, quote unquote, take that away, I'm sure that there would be people who are upset with that. And I totally hear, the frustrations by people who feel like they're almost like locked into this, to this NAT team that they're starting to build. But I've also, to be fair, seen feedback of like, wow, I can't believe I've actually been able to build up this team. There's almost a little bit of pride, again, that, hashtag team no money spent. Like, look at this team that I've been able to put together. For me right now, with where we are at the start of April, we're not even in April yet. You said April, Cut Fox. We're still in mid-March.
I got bad sense of date and time. Yeah.
I would say that, if people were to compare their teams to past months to where it is now, I would venture to say that their team this year would be a little bit stronger. Things like Team of the Year almost honestly surprised me when we had the solo sequences and we're like, yeah, and we're going to give out a random NAT version on both sides of the ball. I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. That's fantastic. So,
yeah,
I hear the criticisms, but at the same time, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. For something like specifically like Team of the Year, has that been something that you would have seen in the past?
Didn't we traditionally get a Team of the Year player for doing all those solos?
I don't recall if it was the solos. I thought it was typically for the Team of the Week engagement.
Yeah,
that you did and you had that as well this year.
Yeah,
that guy was auctionable.
Yeah, we had Team of the Week engagement in previous years, and last year I think they gave out one that was only for one side of the ball, offense or defense. I'm not too sure if they were auctionable last year though. No, I think they were NAT too. It's only one. So this year's the first year we got one for both. So again, game being great to the people who are grinding it.
Yeah, like so you're saying it gives us a sense of pride and accomplishment for all the NATs, huh? Is that the keywords you're on? I shouldn't make fun of EA and their big controversies, hey?
No, I mean you can continue. People can continue to say what they want. And again, that's probably an element of it. But again, I think we're excited about when we drop content that we have an avenue for players to engage with that, and not just engage with it, but to get pretty decent high-end content. And something like those solos I thought were a great example. Another one that comes to mind was I believe Most Feared, like the Richard Sherman that was there for Most Feared. We had a path where if you saved up all of your MUT tokens, or I'm sorry, your Most Feared tokens, like you had a path to go get Richard Sherman. That player was auctionable tradable. So, I mean, again, we honestly, truly do put our best foot forward when it comes to programs like that.
So talking about auctionable tradable, in the coming days, we're going to have a Ultimate Master come out, which I'm currently grinding for. Is Night Train Lane auctionable tradable, or is he NAT?
He is auctionable tradable.
Whoa. That's the headline of the podcast. What do you think about that, Texas? Is that
that's gonna be
clickbait?
That's fun because I assume he's gonna be Nat because again, Nat 18. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed he's not.
What? This is the exact opposite things we said about Sean
No,
Taylor.
think about because if he was Nat, then I can go ahead and just keep him. But now that he's not, I'm just gonna go ahead and sell him. So it just comes down to preference. I anticipate a guy being in my team, but I'm glad he is because those that get it done first are going to be able to sell it for a pretty penny.
Yeah, because that's weird. Texas, we complained about Sean Taylor not being that way back in September? Was it when we had that podcast and we found out about that? Yeah. So it's interesting that you're also complaining because I'm not complaining.
Is it a complaint? I'm just saying, like, I expected him to be Nat, and then when he wasn't, my heart was a little broken a little bit. Like,
okay.
Like that's what I expected. Like, I like seeing Sean Taylor back there because now I don't need a free safety. When they drop a free safety again, I'm like, what? I got Sean Taylor, so
yeah, but that's
cool.
That kind of sucks though. Like that means we won't have another free safety for the rest of the year that you'll need to use.
I mean, that's true, but that's the best one in the game though, so I can't really get mad about it. For somebody I was stuck with, I'll be kind of upset. But since he's actually the best one, and anybody that comes out is not even close on any level, I'm just like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks for making Night Train Lane auctionable because it's rare that we get that. Especially like we were talking a little bit before about MLB The Show coming out, and all their rewards are NAT, like all their legends, everything they put in the game except for what you pull out of packs is NAT. So being able to grind for auctionable stuff is kind of cool and be able to get coins. So awesome, Jake. All right, Texas, your turn for a question.
All right, I'm gonna stick around with the NAT stuff before we move on. So early on this year, there wasn't that many exchange sets. You guys have done a good job recently where you can exchange NATs for other cards with the boss battle solos. You could exchange 294s for a 91 auctionable. Same thing with the MUT Heroes content. How come early on in the year there wasn't a focus on exchange sets for like high tier NAT elites?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in particular that I can point to. It wasn't something that was necessarily like intentionally designed against. You know, if anything, it sounds like it was an opportunity missed. So I think given what we've seen this year, we need to make sure that we're doing a much better job of that in the future to make sure that yes, you do have some non-auctionable tradable content, but that you still have something to do with it. You know, if I were to speculate, I would think earlier in the year, it's more likely that NAT content is still probably something that's good enough to be in your lineup. And then as the year goes on, it becomes harder for that item to stay in there. And so now you kind of feel that burn a little bit of like, you know, hey, I really want to do something with it. So I think it's a good note. It's something that we'll make sure that we do a better job of.
Okay, because I know some people like me as an example. I have 290 overall Nat Chris Harris's that I got at the Gauntlet that I can't get with, and I have the 90. I have the 90. I powered him up already, so I'm like, if there's an exchange set for him, it's cool. The only one that is in the game right now is the Elite token set, and I just feel weird putting 90 overalls in the Elite token set. Even
no, for sure.
It's really weird. Sure. Also, going on with the Nats, so we'll get the power ups later on, but when you guys drop the power ups in Madden. And you changing the positions of the players. If people's teams are already NAT, it's kind of messing with how their team's already constructed. Sure. So if Bosa goes from being a left end to a right end, that messes up somebody's right end spot on their roster. That happened this week as well with what's that boy's name? The Melvin Ingram for the Chargers. He went from left outside linebacker to left end. So my question here is. Go ahead.
And I know Aaron Donald did it as well. Those were big things. You know, I mean, just being as transparent as I can be, I wish that we would have done it differently. I know that we were just trying to be authentic to what that player was actually doing this year, like the type of position that he was actually playing compared to how we started him out. We didn't do a good enough job of supporting that and making sure that again, people made an investment in that Aaron Donald, feeling like, okay, cool, D tackle is wrapped up this year. So again, that's a big area. That's not a small opportunity. That's a big area and something that we need to make sure that we do a more consistent job with. We recently had a much smaller issue, but I can't remember. I don't know if it was Ozamel, one of the guards who was Raiders both Raiders and Ravens, And the same sort of thing, we replayed back to his old team, and he was a power up, and the producer came up to me and said, hey, what should we do? And I said, keep the team that his power up already was. We unfortunately don't have the tools or the features support that we need for this year to make that something that it is easy on the user and sort of is able to help with both sides there. So let's just keep it. So I think for the remainder of this year, I'm going to try to make sure that those power ups stay true to what they have been, even if the new version that just came out has an element that's different to it.
So let's just talk about power-ups in general here. Let's get into it, Texas. Jake, in an interview yesterday, it came out, and I was very jealous, and that's kind of how we got a thing going today. You said you're looking for ways to improve the idea of powering up players, and there's a path to making them successful in the future. Does that mean they're going to continue into 19 by future? Do you mean just for the rest of 18, or is that something you can't talk about with content?
Yeah, it's something that's a little harder to talk about. When we look at power-ups, I think people like that concept. I think it's a very natural Madden or video game or football concept to take a player and want to do something to improve that player. I think that general concept is something that people are like, yeah, I want to do that. But all the other things that came with the content design this year, where it's auctionable tradable or it's non-auctionable tradable, and you can't go backwards and you can't get out of it. There's no there wasn't enough incentive for players to continue doing it. We tried to make it so that it's the best version of the player, that those players had abilities, and we wanted to pay that off. But we definitely have heard and seen where the flaws are, and so I think we are figuring out ways that we can improve on that for the future.
Okay, Texas, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I remember y'all saying that, because I was wondering. I was like, you said he's going to be the best version of the players, and only a few of them are worth powering up, the ones that got abilities, obviously. And then it seems like this year, a lot of the cards that ended up getting master cards can get powered up. So the Von Miller, what's the boy's name? Khalil Mack and the
OBJ
back early on couldn't be powered up because they were master cards. And I was wondering, how come with that program, with what we saw with Sean Taylor down the line, how come a lot of the cards aren't that format when it comes to powering up players with a collectible and some elite tokens?
Yeah, I think that was an area where we could have gone in that direction. It's not to sound like an excuse, but our first year doing it, I think we'd have plenty of learnings here. And the type of things that you're talking about, as well as I'm sure you would also probably include when a limited player also gets included in something like who's also a power up. What are we doing to support that as well? We have really I think solid thoughts for how we're going to be able to improve on that in the future. But yeah, another big opportunity for us. The criticisms around that area of the game, certainly valid. I'll just say, in the moment of why did you even initially make that decision? It was this fear that we were going to block people from future content with things like Odell Beckham, right? We're thinking, start of this year, this is clearly going to be somebody that is probably going to get 1 to 2 team of the weeks, during the year. And then all of a sudden he comes out and he's done for the year, right? And all of a sudden he's just kind of stuck with his master. And that was disappointing, right? There's really no good excuse of why Odell Beckham had a tier 3 at launch and he just got his tier 4 at combine. So those are areas where we look and we say, look, we've got to do better here. And the discussions that we've already had, I feel like those are things that we're definitely going to make sure don't happen again.
Nice.
Gotcha. Do you think because in the future, would it be better if a person does have like a power up set not to give them a master card or a limited time card, so that way none of this could because especially with like this year, if you can't power up the Todd Gurley from his 95 to his 98, in the future would it be better just to not try to give limited time cards or heroes or master cards to people who already have power up sets?
It's a tough thing, Texas. A lot of those power ups are some of the biggest names in football, and so to not have those guys be masters or have limiteds, there are some challenges there. I mean, I see enough on my timeline of the criticisms when some of those limiteds come out. We should feel, okay with making those guys stand out for big items like that. I think where I'd rather solve it again is on the power up side, and making sure that there's still a path to making it so that, obviously, like, again, with it limited, by definition, there's only so many of those. So if a Anthony Barr limited comes out and he's a power up player, I can't require that specific item for you to power him up. That by definition, there is not enough Anthony Barrs that will come out. We will be blocking people if we do that. However, there are other ways that I think that we can still make that a choice.
Hey,
I'll
so
kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, talking about power ups and issues with it. Are you guys going to come out with some sort of packs here in 18 to relieve the stress on Luke Kuechly and his $1 million team of the week card? Million coin, sorry, team of the week card.
Something that's been brought to our attention. Kralo does a pretty great job. Shout out to Kralo. That man works nonstop. So
yeah,
he's great. No,
yeah,
we actually had a meeting on that today and tried to brainstorm some solutions. I think it's too early to talk about, but I think that in one way or another, we'll hopefully have some relief for players like Luke Kuechly.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good.
Sean Jones, a lot of, I think it's like a couple they're going for. They're the best cards in MUT Heroes Pro, which is funny. Like the ones everybody wants, the Rashad Jones and the Kuechly, because it's secure tackler. Love it.
Hey, so moving on from power ups, Tex, if you got anything, we can circle back later. But
wait,
what's up?
Last thing. So at the beginning of the year, I went back and looked at some tweets because I just wanted to get some questions. You said from you, Jake, said we feel like power up players are like milestones, but even wider. So I was wondering, do you still agree with that statement?
Do I still agree with that?
It's like the segment. Defend that tweet. What late night show is that does that? Defend that tweet.
Like, I like power ups too. I don't know if I like it more than milestones because the auctionable and milestones had double chems, but these power ups are some of the best players in the game, especially if you having him on your team the entire year. So like basically, I got Kuechly and Calais Campbell
Texas
for free.
Yeah, Texas.
Combine Pro. What?
Yeah, power ups suck. Just get over it.
They don't suck.
They're the worst.
They could be better.
No, this is the thing that me and Texas we go through the whole year. I talk about how bad power ups. Texas powers up every single card he can get his hand on. He's got an issue. It's clearly like we've heard that they're going to try and do better in the future. And that there are a lot of issues with the power ups. I mean, we're essentially confirming how much they suck here, Texas. So let's just move on.
Not saying this. I just wanted to find out if he agrees with that, and also they're not terrible. Just don't be an idiot.
I think they're two different things, right? And that's where you can get into trouble when you speculate on something that isn't out there yet. Going into the year, we're really excited about the idea, and if you flash back all the way to 17, the campaign players was sort of my half-baked attempt with the content and the way that I had to do it, trying to like retrofit it in June when campaign players came out last year. That was sort of my semi-attempt to just put out the feelers for what power-ups might look like, and at the time, we heard some thoughts about them being NAT, but at the same time, I think players were a little more receptive to it than what the current approval rating of power ups is. So it's tough, right? Like they are two different things. I'm always going to be excited about the things that we're putting out. but that doesn't mean that there aren't areas where we can get better at it. So for all the criticisms that we take, with a lot of them being valid, we absolutely do listen. And again, I'm somebody who pops in MUT every night. Like, I'm in there, I'm playing, I'm trying to experience just like everybody else and kind of understand where those pain points are. So we're not oblivious to it. We're gonna get on the right track.
Yeah, so I saw you got exposed on the MUT subreddit for running nothing but cheese in MUT Squads one time and having all the best cards. I think was the post. So yeah, you're definitely on it. But would it be cool? All right, how about what if you would have like all the upcoming cards on your MUT Squads team, and then when people ran across you online, they could like post and let us know? Would that be some sort of teaser that we could do?
Absolutely not.
Damn.
First off, I can't believe you just laid me out to dry like that. You're gonna try and call me out like I got exposed on a subreddit, and then just keep rolling past it. Like, yeah, that's not cool.
I got exposed the other day too, so don't feel it's just you.
No. It's what's funny is there are a few items. So first off, just to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, those like 99% of the stuff is not available to put on my team until it's actually out and available for everybody to get. There are a few exceptions to that. I could put Ed Too Tall Jones, boss battle master, on my team right now, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I tell my squad friends, I'm not doing it. It's not okay. We're not doing that.
Hey, so I don't know if you can say, but talk about boss battle players. I was able to find one on the market for 3 million coins. I bought it, I got some gameplay, and then I sold it back. One, how did that get on the market? And two, I've heard other reports of other boss battle players out there and about on people's teams. So is there some sort of, I would say, some internal issues at EA with that?
So I don't know specifically about the other supposed boss battle players that are out there. I don't have any confirmation on that. I don't know if you have any confirmation on that. I am very well aware of the time that you were able to put your hands on Mr. Campbell. We did do some research on that. I'm not going to get into how that happened. I will say that it was not anything internal.
Somebody's got the hacks?
Nobody's got the hacks.
Damn.
You know, some people watch a little too much Mr. Robot though. So
we're gonna get you through your temperature gauges or your what the hell they use to get. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So okay, so you can't say what it was though.
Nah, just in fear of other people trying to possibly go through the same methods. It was not anybody internally though that accidentally gave a player out.
Was it a customer service? Like, did somebody go through like a customer service and like say my guy got messed up? Is that it? Is that the hacks?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
Somebody said, I didn't get 5 of these collectibles. Somebody must just pass through the filters.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be finding these EA support guys. I'd be like, yo, I got an 87 overall to an 88 or plus pack. All right, wait 5 days. We'll give you a new one. Dudes be getting stuff immediately. I don't know how that works. I need that rogue employee to hook me up sometimes.
Yeah, must be nice. Okay, so moving on from power-ups and all that. So we got draft champions at the beginning of 16. You yourself created salary cap near the end of 16's lifespan. I think it was May or something. We got MUT Squads here in 18. Are we in store for another big mode for 19? Or I know that's kind of you can't really answer, but maybe if you can, I don't know, Oh no, it needs to be audio, doesn't it? Maybe if you can like type it out in Morse code. Do you know Morse code? Could you do that?
What, do you want me to start tapping the mic?
Yeah, that'd be great.
In Morse code?
Yeah. So is there any thoughts okay, go on.
No, I think I get the gist of where you're going. It's always a touchy subject when it comes to modes, right? Like, there's a lot of times when we're sitting there kind of talking and taking a step back, a lot of people feel like we already have way too many modes. Like, it's really hard for us to come in here and tell a newer player into Ultimate Team where should they be spending their time. At the same time, when we have those same discussions, I'm like, okay, guys, if you were to get rid of something, what would it be? and there's just no clear answer. Like there's nothing that that really stands out of what could go to help again with that thought that maybe there's too much already. To answer your question directly though, it's something that's always talked about, right? Like we want to continue to provide the best experiences possible, and you know, we're going to explore all avenues.
Yeah. So you mentioned something in there about new players, and I mean I think the new player experience in MUT it could be improved a little bit. But you guys kind of already funnel people through solos as a new player. Do you think that's something you guys can do better in the future to introduce new people to the mode and like tell them how everything works, explain this stuff?
Without question. I mean, it's always one of the things that we spend a lot of time thinking about, and we've already kind of self-identified a lot of where those issues are, and now it's a matter of making sure that we set aside the time to go in there and improve some of those flows. It's an important part for us. You know, MUT is a very different type of mode, so getting people to kind of grasp that quickly is, you know, something that we value.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I gave this feedback to you last year and on the podcast because, like, the new player experience in online head-to-head, with the way the matchmaking system works, you're going to get absolutely clobbered your first 5 games. With the 5 games to find your skill level, then it matches you up. Like, and a new player playing 5 full online games and getting absolutely destroyed by god squads or very good squads, it's kind of discouraging for a lot of them, and it's is that something you guys are looking at changing up, like the first few games of matching up in head-to-head or the matchmaking at all?
It's something that we'll take a look at. I mean, I know we've definitely gone down this discussion before, and I don't know how much of that, when you speak about it, do you have other people who have also fallen down that same path? I know that you had that personal experience.
Yeah.
Where that was. So clearly it's something that can happen.
Like if you go look at like other YouTubers and their Road to Red Paint accounts, like they go on like a fresh account and try like to build up a team on elites, and they're getting absolutely smashed with like high-end high 90 cards right when they're in their first rookie season. So that if you want more like examples of what just happens, either start up your own new account and see what you get matched up, or just watch what YouTubers are running against in that first rookie second season.
Okay. Yeah. Fair feedback.
Yeah.
I will make sure that I know who the guy is to talk to on that one. So we'll make sure that we have that discussion.
All right.
Okay. So we just found out that y'all kind of with new player experience and all that, you're targeting people who don't spend money. But can't you target people who are new to the account so they can match with only people who are new to Madden as well? Or is that something that's a little bit different?
That's something that's a little bit different.
Okay. I thought maybe you could just like, fresh accounts, so only play people who are created a Madden account the past month or so.
I think the only thing that we can do is, you know, we do. I believe that we do know when it's when you're in that first 5 game like ranking phase, so to speak. I think, you know, maybe there's an opportunity to try and hold the line a little longer, and what I mean by that is to not expand your matchmaking window maybe as quickly as we might now. We would just have to go and take a look and see sort of what those matchmaking rules look like, you know. But that's another one of those balance things of, you know, do we make people wait longer to get in the game, or do we feel like they've reached a certain point and now we need to find them a match?
Yeah, did you find Weekend League a success this year, or was the complaining about rewards just not worth it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was successful overall. You know, again, that's another one of those things where, you know, do my best to not have this sound as an excuse, but, you know, it's our first year running it, and so there were plenty of learnings, and you know, to our credit, we never really like turned our back on it. It was something that we wanted to make sure that we continued to iterate on and try to keep listening and find out, you know, how can we improve these. I feel like right now we've gotten to a pretty good spot with where those are. I mean, you just mentioned that you've had some good success lately. I do think that adding that coin option for those packs was a step in the right direction, as well as just the general rewards overall. I mean, I think now when you look at those packs, they're all building off of, or the reward layouts, they're all building off of the previous tier. One of the things early on, was people could go and get the silver packs, and they open them, and all of a sudden they just pull limited out of them, and they're like, "That's sweet. That normally would never happen, but this was amazing. I can't believe it." And then somebody in the top 100 would rip their packs, and their guarantee for the elite tier pack, which was the 3 guaranteed elites with the OVR being different points during the year. And if they didn't have great success there, they were like, well, look at this guy. This guy played for 2 hours and he pulled a limited, whereas I've, got all these rewards, and I didn't get to pull that. So that's those were areas where it was a little frustrating, because on one hand, in the past, the way that packs were structured, that player in the silver tier rewards probably would never even had a chance to pull a limited. But the way that the packs are set up now, there is that chance that they can pull it, and it makes for those wow moments. But that also means that the players in the top 100 who go and look at that are sitting there thinking like, well, hey man, why not me? So yeah. It's a tough thing to get right, and to some degree, in my frustration, I always felt that that the coins were an afterthought that you earned. Like, you're getting pretty strong, like, raw coins just for getting that high, but it always felt like people were make or break on the packs. And what was funny is, before we launched, I talked to some people who had already engaged in FUT's version of Weekend League, and it was almost the complete opposite. Like, they were super excited to get the coins, and if they pulled something in the packs, they were like, oh, it's a bonus. It's no big deal. But they were really excited just to get the coins. And for us, I've kind of noticed that it's all about what they're putting in the packs, which, again, sort of led me to, all right, well, I want to give you the option. If you want to opt out and just take the coins and take the guarantee, like, that's what we're valuing the packs. So let's offer that same exact value to the player.
Yeah. I feel just like the people that you talked from FIFA, because I know the people that care about the packs the most are YouTubers for getting good views. Were the FIFA people YouTubers?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the difference. A lot of feedback you get are from maybe YouTubers sometimes. But talk about FIFA. So after Weekend League, is there anything else left to steal from FIFA? I heard about squad builder challenges. Why can't Madden have sets?
What specific set would you want?
I'm just kidding. Like, because squad builder challenges, everybody wants to bring them over to Madden, so they would be similar to your sets here in this game. Just was trying to make a joke there, but like I
wanted to make sure that was a joke. I'm like, we've had sets for a minute.
Yeah.
Is there a specific set that we're not doing that they're doing? So, yeah, no. I hear you.
The whole thing was just a joke. Texas, your question.
Oh no, with it makes sense. It's kind of weird though. People are like more so interested in the pack. But that's been, I think, Madden forever though, because like the best pack we got this year was Baby Goats, and for value wise, but nobody liked them because you couldn't really pull anything great out of them, such as like 90 limited times out of those packs. So I feel like the community just as a whole just likes being able to pull the limiteds or high tier cards so they can brag to their friends more so they didn't go out and buying them.
Just to riff on that for a second, again, my opinion, just sort of seeing the behavior. To me, it's more about it's not just about pulling a rare thing and being able to go make a YouTube video about it and be like, look how awesome this was, I pulled it. People very rarely even go put the player in their lineup right away. They're excited to pull it because it's worth a ton of coins, which again leads me back to why I wanted to put that coin option in for the Weekend League reward packs. Not everybody's a YouTuber. People just want to like make sure that they are getting good value for what they put in. And for, again, my opinion, coins are kind of king. With coins, you can go out and figure out what you want to get on the auction house, and you have all the power. But I don't know. I mean, again, for me, I've just felt like people pull it and they're like, cool, I'm going to sell it immediately. And even if it's a player that will be back on their team, they're going to sell them and then just go wait until he, drops an auction house price a little bit, and then they'll go back and pick him back up, and they feel like they got a better deal.
Yeah, about coin value in the pack. Texas talked about nobody liked the baby goat packs. I love the baby goat packs, and I mean,
I'm saying for excitement purposes. For value, it's really weird because these people like to waste coins on big packs, try to get that big pool. But there's other packs in this game that give you the value back if you put the money into it, but they're just not exciting. Well, and people, I guess, want excitement.
I wouldn't say there's a ton of packs like that though.
There was a few, people spent more on the you only had a few Fire Fantasy packs, and I guess some of the level up packs were dope.
Yeah.
But they were kind of expensive for what you can do if you instead of just pulling a bunch of baby goat packs. People didn't really want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and with the baby goat packs, that brings you back to do you guys estimate how much coins are coming out of each one of these packs? Because that baby goat pack alone early in the year completely sunk the third-party market for coins because of how valuable it was, and we haven't really seen anything since just like that. Why did you guys get rid of a pack that delivers such good guaranteed value to us? And is it and why? I mean, okay, I saw what happened to mobile when they tried to sell coins. It was a bunch of baby rage in the community. But and maybe you can't talk about what your future plans are for packs or selling coins, but is that something that might be in the cards going forward? Because if people just buy coins like MLB The Show, buy stubs, it seems like a lot of this issue with pack value and stuff goes away.
I'd say right now there's no plans on letting people buy coins directly.
Okay.
As far as the packs, again, I try to stay in my lane. That's not something that I try to step into. That's not a world where I try to step into a whole lot. I'll definitely hear about the packs that are getting constructed, and we all play test them and look at them and all that good stuff. But again, that's not what I would say my area of expertise is. So that's not something that I would want to speculate or comment on.
Okay, and this is kind of goes along with a question I got. Sorry to jump this again from Twitter. We'll get to Twitter questions here at the end. Mm-hmm. But this one just to go along with the packs, just to finish off this topic. It's weird. I got this exact same wording from 4 separate people. So Scomo, Mr. Golden Sports, KKL, and 21 Bird all asked me this separately on Twitter, probably not knowing of each other. But anyway, it's exact same wording. Weird. So have they ever looked at a volume-based profit strategy? Why is everything so expensive all the time? With new game modes like Fortnite, don't they think they would make more money selling $10 bundles and not $100 bundles because people would buy more, I'm guessing, or more people would buy?
Yeah. It's something that so that's maybe specific strategy. It's something that we always talk about, as a general principle. It would be awesome if more people were purchasing a $5 pack than some other piece of content. It's a little tough to compare us to Fortnite or any sort of free-to-play game, right? Their install base is massive now, and then that's clearly a strategy that they are finding success with, which is awesome. But again, as just a simple producer on MUT, that's way too above my head to go any deeper than that. But
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I hear it. I totally hear it. I'm another thing that I've seen is we should get more into the cosmetic game like that. I'd be more comfortable doing that. And to my comment there would be, we sort of dipped our toe into that with the game day program. That's probably an effort where, hey, here's something at fairly reasonable price point that's going to get you some exclusive skins, air quotes. And so, again, it's not something that we're oblivious to, and we just have to find a way to continue finding more opportunities like that.
Yeah, talk about skins. Why did you guys get rid of classic uniforms from Madden 17 to Madden 18?
Yeah, that's you know, they're in the game. We have not been able to put those out this year, and I don't have a uh, like a clear cut answer as to why. That's one of those things where if we had more time and opportunity, like we would absolutely uh, love to bring those back. You know, the hardest part for us is just because the main game has it doesn't necessarily mean that it drops right in and works right away in Ultimate Team as well. Something like uniforms and their alternate uniforms, there are hundreds of those. You know, we have to, we sort of like, send our QA team one big giant task that I'm sure they hate, which is, going in and putting on every uniform and making sure that they don't break when they go into game, and there's no issues where a light on light can match up with each other, and it's a pretty big to do. So again, not an excuse there. We need to make sure that we have those going forward. There's not a
Yeah.
it's not intentionally being withheld from the game.
Yeah, it's interesting because in Madden 16 that was a legitimate problem with some of the higher end legends in their uniform. It would crash the game when you went into game with them, and it wasn't figured out until like a couple months in. I know 17 had issues with light on light uniforms like Cowboys, but like why wouldn't you guys just like you talked about the game day program? Why don't you just not do that and instead spend that time doing classic uniforms if you're gonna put some uniforms in the game? Seems like more people would care about like throwbacks.
It's a classic case of how do I
It's okay. It was a setup. It was a setup question. It's
a setup question, but it's one that it's fine. We can address it. It's not always the same resource pool that's building the same thing. So it's not like I necessarily took away from something that I was going to build to do it, but our competitive team was very interested in building that, and so that's what they decided to spend some of their resources on.
Gotcha. And so after the game day program, they ended up getting around to updating MUT Drafts?
Shots.
A couple. Texas, your next question.
I was gonna talk about something else with PAX, but I forgot.
Do you want to move on?
All right, so I guess since you brought up the DC, you want to go ahead and go into that next, or?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so with MUT Drafts, I was wondering, so last time we got it updated before recently was in December, so I just want to know, what was the holdup? I know some people were saying that a lot of the competitive players or people who run a competitive scene are the ones that run MUT Drafts, and the reason why it wasn't being updated, but I don't find that as a valid excuse for them not to update the mode. So like, what was going on with that?
You are definitely entitled to not feel like that's a valid excuse. That is the main reason. I mean, we went into this year, and we when the people are helping like plan out how the year is going to go, we sort of allocate like, okay, this year you're going to be working on this and you're going to be working on this, and nobody on my direct team was tasked with making sure that MUT Draft gets updated at a regular cadence. Whereas a couple years ago, we had somebody whose sole job that was priority zero for him. And then if he was able to get to anything else during the week, then he was able to. So this year we went in feeling that this is a competitive mode now. This is something that if and when that draft pool gets updated, that the people who are running the competitive scene should be in charge of that, so that they have a balanced pool, and there's nothing that normal content guy might throw in there that all of a sudden just throws off the balance of the draft. Like, they put a lot of time into making sure that that pool is pretty well balanced. Now, with that comes the obvious criticism of, well, it's taking way too long to update it. And so we totally hear you on that. We will not be using that same strategy going forward. So I don't think that we're going to run into these same sort of issues. But yeah, I'll probably get yelled at work, but that's kind of that not throwing stones, but that is just the honest truth here of how that happened. trust me, there's nobody on our MUT content side of things that are just like, twiddling their thumbs at their desks, and can't help out. Like we are full effort all the time. There's not a lot of downtime for us, and so
why
everybody needs. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, why does it seem like EA does? Well, maybe you can't answer this, obviously, since it's I don't know, above your head. It does feel like EA, for as much money they're bringing in, it feels like they don't reinvest back into the Madden or MUT team because you guys are kind of small. Like, why aren't you guys getting the help? That's a tough question. You can't answer that. It feels like, why can't you guys just get the help that you need? Like, why is it your executives decide to spend that money on their bonuses rather than hiring new people? You can't answer that.
No, you can't.
Yeah, not touching that one. Again, hey, look, man. Like I get I know what I'm up for when I wake up and go into work every day, and all I can do is I'm gonna play my role and I'm gonna bust my ass, and everybody on our team does the same exact thing. So anything else that is or isn't happening, that's well beyond our control, and that's not something like, the more time that if we want to sit there and focus on that, the less stuff's getting done. So that's the way that we have to attack it on our end. There's no excuses. We got to get it done.
Well, is there any way we could send through feedback through Kralo up the channels to just hire more people so you can do more things? Is that something that the community can shout out?
I can't stop the community from doing anything. If you feel like that's worth your time, that is completely fine. Again, only thing that I'm going to continue to do is keep busting my ass every single day. That's never going to be a problem for me for as long as they'll have me in that building. I can promise you that.
Awesome. Texas, any follow-up questions?
I'm just confused because you said they have to work on balancing the player pools. What does that entail? Like, they just make sure, like, a lot of these cards in Madden are pretty well balanced. There's not really many cards, and with the way the game is coded this year, you're not really going to get an overpowered player into that mode. So I don't see why would they have to go work on balancing it when they can just drop cards in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question, and one that I would kind of just direct to the competitive guys. They're not telling us how to build content, and I'm not going to tell them how to balance their stuff. I think it's more than within reason for them to have say in things like what a player's cap value is, or what the player pool should look like in MUT Draft, when those are the main avenues to reaching their live events. So
yeah, here's a question from Twitter. This one's from CK Birds, a fellow YouTuber, does a lot of great draft champion stuff. He says, why did you make us pay for draft champions when it was free last year?
Yep, good question. I felt like we maybe addressed this around launch. We knew that was going to be a tough transition for people this year. 2 reasons. One is, with not putting any kind of investment into that mode, the reward structure is going to be not great. For lack of a better word, it's just that's part of why we can get the reward structure that we can get, is that there is some investment on the user's end. Mm-hmm. Number 2, and kind of like the harder thing for me to say, but when you take a look around the industry, we were the only game that had a free draft mode. There was no entry cost. The main ones that I'm referring to being FIFA and MLB. MLB is $1.50 for every single draft. So, we just sort of took a look around, and we wanted to stay in line with where everybody else was sort of treating their draft.
Yeah, Hearthstone's priced about the same as those two, but so that excuse makes sense. But the first one with the rewards, that one doesn't hold as much water. It does now because rewards have been updated. But when the game launched, my God, they were terrible. So it's cool that you guys looked at them and updated them. But oh man, it seems. And I mean, we've talked a lot about the issues with draft champions and the I don't know, pull and tug between the competitive and you guys, and the direction of it's kind of up in the air, and maybe nobody really has ownership of it. So like it just feels like it took too long, and there was so much community feedback about the terrible rewards in that. Like, people are fine paying 15,000 coins if you're going to get back 80,000 coins if you win 4 games. That's, I think, people are okay with, because 4 games winning in that is not too bad, especially if you're okay on the sticks. But like, it was, I don't know. I guess people could still play a friend for free, but like it feels like it took away a lot of the fun of the mode, the casualness of the mode. It kind of locked it away behind MUT. So that's just some feedback maybe going into 19 to really, I don't know, bring more of the excitement back to the mode.
I understand. Yeah, and one of the things that I've been talking about, and we saw sort of the reaction after the last update to draft, and I got a note from one of our analysts, and she was kind of just saying, hey, we need to make sure that we're doing more of this next year. This is something like, even if they're more like limited time based, maybe not quite Thursday night drafts, but something that is in there to sort of just change it up a little.
Incentivize people to play it.
Yeah, just change it up a little bit. One of the things that I'm really interested in is trying to give players more of an opportunity to go on a longer win streak and have an opportunity for even better rewards. Like 4-0 is great, but could we offer something that occasionally lets people go 6-0, 8-0, 12-1 potentially? It's something that I'd really like to do, and I think, again, not everybody's a content creator, but I definitely value what content creators feel about the game, and I feel that for somebody like Texas to go on and go 12-1 and win a MUT draft and has this amazing rewards pack opening experience, I think there's a lot of value in that. So is that something that we can run all the time and have that be sort of the fastball of the mode? Maybe not, but it's something that I think that we should include more often.
Yeah, it's kind of like those limited time head-to-head blitz events you had that Texas loved so much last year,
Yep.
where you had that one reward. All right, go on, Texas.
I was gonna say that's so great. Well, continue your thought. I was just hyping your thought up and not kind of threw you off track because I'll be quiet.
All right. All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll work on another question.
Okay, go on.
I guess. So even though you did increase the cost of it, I was wondering, so with Madden 16, Madden 17 draft events and all that, Tuesday night drafts, they only cost 9 tickets. So you went up, what? There were 15 now? No, 5 tickets now, right? No, there were 3 tickets. I'm sorry, went up 9,000 coins, 3 tickets. They were
3. They're now 5. Yep.
Now they're 5. And then with the free mode being gone out of the game, how will a person that's just getting into the game start without a free mode? Because it seems like if you go on head-to-head, you get wrecked. You can't really do a salary cap team. I feel like you taking out the free draft champions or MUT drafts is not good for people who are just now getting into Madden.
Yeah, I hear you. And we'll take a look and see sort of what the data suggests there, and kind of pull the community. Why we did that this year? Again, we very clearly aligned with what FUT Draft was offering. I mean, we went and mirrored the same exact win-loss structure. We mirrored the same entry cost. They don't have tickets, but theirs is 15,000 coins or $3. So that's kind of where we went to this year, and so we'll take a look and see if that's something that was a positive or negative for us.
Gotcha. Also, I don't want to tell you what you should tell these competitive players or competitive guys that run this mode, but tell them they need to do a better job of balancing it, so that way when I draft a quarterback, I'm not getting a quarterback in the last round that I can't take. There's no reason Michael Vick should be in round 15 or round 20, and also Tom Brady's in round 12. Like, how come he's not in the quarterback round? And same thing with halfbacks.
Well, the last round. So there's a couple things there. One, I know that they were interested in having a quarterback round. Like, they wanted a round that was like, okay, no matter what, you have to pick a quarterback here, right? Like, there were times where you might see a quarterback early in the draft and all of a sudden you pass on him, you take somebody else, and then there was literally not another quarterback that showed up the entire time, and now you're playing with the base quarterback. So they wanted a round that was purely dedicated to ensure that, okay, you're taking a quarterback. And then with somebody like Mike Vick shows up in that last round, yeah, like you might take the, arguably the best quarterback in MUT, but that means that you sacrifice the position because you doubled up at quarterback. So it's in their eyes, they feel like it's balanced because you took the best player, but you also more or less forfeited a position. So whether or not you agree with that stance, that's a different subject. But just from hearing them talk about it when they were, kind of playtesting this latest version of the draft pool, I specifically heard them discuss that.
That's the only position where you can sacrifice one. So when Michael Vick gets outdated in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it just seems weird that he's not in the quarterback round like he should be with other quarterbacks. So there's no chance you can get Michael Vick in round 13 if you get Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers.
There's just no choice. If he's in the quarterback round, like there's no other choice though, right? Like you mentioned, like Mike Vick might get outdated. I don't think Legends Mike Vick got outdated until Ultimate Legends Mike Vick came out.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you're right about that. It's just weird though. I just feel like in that mode, I want to use Vic, but I'm not gonna sacrifice a round. Just especially the last round being very important, especially if you have a certain defense you run. You need 91 zones out there, unless you're Gut Fox. Now you're running a bunch of 90 zone guys now to combat the C route.
Yeah, do we want to get into thresholds and stuff right now?
Yeah. You want anything else on DC, or want to go to the next?
No, let's move on to thresholds.
All right.
So designing around thresholds, I kind of want to know, how often do you guys meet with the gameplay team? Do you guys like talk frequently about how to design cards and what's best for gameplay on the field in MUT?
We've talked a little more than what we've had in the past. I think there's still plenty of opportunity for us to continue having more conversations with each other going forward. They're much more interested in what MUT is doing now. For instance, like they will ask for test content to see, like, when I say test content, like doesn't have to be the exact guy, but like give us some really high end content that might be there in 8 months so that we can have our guys playtesting in that area. It's not just about the days of like going in the play now and using that to sort of be your litmus test for where your game's at is gone. They need to make sure that they are testing every area of the game, and now that there's 3 different play styles, that's even more work for them. So that's a long way of saying yes, we do talk. We'll continue to talk more, and they have much bigger interest and investment in what we're doing, because in a way that's their I'm not going to say livelihood, but a lot of like what determines whether the feedback that they get is either positive or negative. A lot of that is coming from how Ultimate Team plays.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Like, and with that, do you feel like we need MUT chems sometimes to cover the deficiency in gameplay, like unfakeable and spins earlier? Like, do you guys and hold it over the gameplay guys and say like, bailed your ass out again?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's another fun topic that the community's tried to latch onto a little bit this year. We're definitely not designing the game in a way that is holding things back and like, oh well, we'll just use it as a chemistry. I mean, we're just trying to take a look at areas of the game and try to hey, do you remember back when you used to be able to do this? Man, it'd be really cool if you could call 2 hot routes at the line of scrimmage and call it conductor. Like, yeah, that would be really cool. And so, I mean, the way that these things sort of spurn are coming from a good place, but I understand why people feel that it's not.
I gotcha. Texas, any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey, Jake. No. So there's a question. How do you guys come up with stats on the cards and overalls and stuff?
So the OVRs are, I guess, I don't know if this is your exact question, but I'll go to sort of like how we determine our OVRs. Like, this is something that's happening now-ish, where so the main Madden team builds their OVR formulas every year. But I'm not gonna say they start from scratch every year, but we always sort of wait for them to build theirs first and kind of understand what they're doing and take sort of a baseline from them. And then from there, we take a look at it and we do our best to alter it in a way that makes more sense for Ultimate Team. So, for example, what is a good example? So for things that like the main team has to worry about, or things like in franchise, they have different types of players in there, and so the OVRs can get calculated differently for them. Whereas in Ultimate Team, we're trying to we don't have different archetypes, and so I remember I recently went over and was talking to one of the producers because I saw that there was some feedback around the Dak Prescott, and it's harder for us to we don't have archetypes in MUT. So like when we have a scrambling quarterback versus a balanced quarterback, we value speed more because our players value speed more. So when a mobile quarterback comes out, that's when, things like the throw accuracy or throw power may not be as strong as somebody who's a Dan Marino type who doesn't have that mobility but is going to be really strong in those areas. So is what we're doing 100% right and like we've nailed it? Absolutely not. Like those are things that we have to continue doing a better job at and keep taking a deeper look at. So I feel like we are definitely better than what we were a year ago.
Yeah, and some people like the overall sometimes seem a little funky on cards, and so basically what you're saying is you take a look at the base man, the CFM ratings, then you knock them down a little bit for MUT to make MUT cards. Is that how you kind of get their stats to start the year, or do you guys kind of re-rate everybody yourself?
Golly, how do I say it? So I think what main Madden does in terms of like the starting ratings is it gives us a really good idea of how that particular player is balanced. So for example, if a guy has a stronger finesse move than a power move in main Madden, like we will make sure like that is true for us as well, but he might start off a little lower, his OVR might be a little lower, but we try to like honor the
finesse power move stuff.
The makeup of that particular player. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. So you guys don't take like the CFM ratings, then times it by like 0.8 to lower it to MUT ratings.
I wish it was a 30-second task for us to do that.
Seems like it.
Last year I think we spent about 2 weeks.
I just saved you guys a lot of time there. Efficiency moving. There you go. The bureaucracy's over. Hey, so. And then, so like you guys touch up stats, and then you make your overall formula, and then salary cap goes ahead and makes their overall formula for their salary. It feels like you guys are doing the overall formula 3 times in the same game. Another efficiency measure saved by Gutfox. So you're welcome.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. So why does salary cap numbers differ so much from the MUT stat and the MUT overalls? Like some overalls will be lower, and their salary cap might be higher.
I think they're much more, again, I'm sure it's not true universally. I think they're much more aligned than they were a year ago. I think maybe the one difference that might be different from this year than last year is I believe that when the cards get the actual chemistries put on them, that gets sort of factored into the salary cap rating, whereas before it didn't. It was sort of like withheld outside of it, and then when you equipped it and activated the chemistry, that's when you were sort of hit with that cap charge. So now you might have instances where a 92 overall player without an ability might be less than a 91 who does have an ability.
So all right, in my attempt at gotcha journalism, here we go. Me and Tex have discussed this before. Bo Jackson, 95 overall halfback with Pound the Rock and Battle Ready chemistry. He's 80 cap. Adrian Peterson, 95 overall running back with Pound the Rock and Battle Ready chemistry, is 62 cap. So they get the same chemistry, same overall, but they're 18 cap difference. It feels like there's a little bit of a discrepancy there.
I think, don't quote me on this one, even though I'm on a podcast. I think that the competitive guys they always have the opportunity to override someone's salary cap. So for 99% of the guys, we already have sort of a script that just, again, runs the ratings. Hey, does this guy have any chemistries? And it spits us out a number. And 99% of the time, we use that number. We put it right on the item. There are some cases where competitive takes a look at it, sort of like, ooh, that guy's going to be really strong, and they have the opportunity and the right to go in and overwrite him. So I'm not saying that's exactly what happened in this case, but it may have happened in this case.
And talking about overalls not mattering, can you guys bring back Schefter Stars?
I have. It's one of those things that gets talked about every year. I would love to again, I'm not the one calling at him and being like, hey bro, you ready to come back? But like, can we have something that tries to recapture that feel? Yeah, I'd totally be open to trying to find out what that looks like in
Texas, what were they before Schefter Stars? What were they in the year before they
Schefter Stars, and then they were
in 15.
Wow.
What were they in 15?
What were they?
Rising Stars. Rising Stars.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm still holding on my Robies to sell them. That's a little bit of me. But so next, like, I don't know. Texas, your next question. I think I'm done with stats and overall.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, do you guys like the thresholds, or the MUT team like the thresholds? Because it seems like it doesn't help y'all create content, since a lot of these cards, if they don't hit a certain threshold, are kind of unusable, or if they go past a certain threshold, they're not desired because of, again, the key word in this being threshold. So do y'all like the fact that there are thresholds in Madden?
Yeah, again, another one of those where, this was the first year there, so we sort of just tried to observe it on the fly. We went into the year feeling that just because a player might go past the threshold, that there were still other ratings on that particular player that should matter and should still make you feel like, I need to go get this guy. Obviously, probably most likely physical stats. I think, again, without trying to swim outside my lane too much, I think the gameplay team might have more reasons to go and take a look at if they feel comfortable with certain thresholds in the game, more so than Ultimate Team. Again, just they would be going based off of feedback that they're getting from the community, not necessarily from our side. So I think overall, the guys that we would see on our timeline, being the hardcore MUT guys that we are, I'm sure that we absolutely see feedback like that, where it's like, hey, this guy's already over the threshold. Why should I go run out and get him? Is that as widespread through the entire player base in Ultimate Team? I'm not so sure. But, again, just as a recap for thresholds in general, I think the gameplay team in general is going to take a look and sort of decide whether or not that's something that they feel makes sense going forward.
It's a very, very interesting way of putting that. Yeah. I guess we should read into that. So in designing cards around thresholds, like, would you guys so right now there's a little bit of exploit, and a lot of people drive down the field by taking advantage of 91 zones, because you can throw on break on out routes, as Zan showed, or C routes, as I put out in a video. You throw on break and it kind of makes them break wrong, and then you can get easy yards that way. So right now, like, you got to sub in guys at like 90 zone in order to get to pick that off and to stop them from exploiting your coverage corners. So is there any way like you putting out like a 90 zone, 99 speed corner in order to make like a updated card but under the zone threshold?
That's a very interesting idea.
Okay.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, that again, like, honestly, that's a very interesting idea. That's not like saying like, yes, we've already got that cooking up, and just wait for it.
That's kind of how I took it. I was like, oh, okay.
No, so yeah, I roll like that a lot, so I wanted to clarify in this case. No, that's an interesting idea. At the same time, I wonder, I wonder if again in this sort of like hard to win world that I live in, like would people like I would have to go find a player that hasn't reached that 90. Like I don't think there's a world where I get to still have a head if I take a player who has 97 zone and put out a new item where he's got 90 zone.
Well, what about flashback Deion Sanders to his rookie season where he's got 99 speed and 90 zone because he's not like a in the league and experienced.
We've maybe not me and you, but I've had this conversation with some members of the community if that type of fiction makes sense. And I always feel like I come away with it's a hard message for players who have been playing Ultimate Team this long to wrap their head around, which is I actually take a player and I put him back in a different version that makes his stats worse in some areas than his previous item.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
Am I explaining that right? Like,
no,
if I have
you're
a guy
right.
who is 95 zone, and then his next item is 90, and I do try to wrap that around a NFL replay or a flashback or anything like that, I feel like that's more out of bounds for the MUT community than people who would like kind of get it.
I feel like you need to stop talking to idiots. Like, I mean, that makes complete sense. Like, as a rookie, your smarts and your intelligence are not nearly what it's going to be when you've been in the league for 8 years. Like, I don't understand how hard that is to wrap your mind around. Like, maybe people just like complaining.
Think if that player was a power up. How would you treat that power up?
Well, okay. I mean, if the power ups are gonna drag down our entire life, I mean, I don't know. That's we can't design around terrible power ups, right? Like, I know what you're saying there, but
you're the wrong person to ask that question.
Yeah, let's not design ourselves around such a terrible program. Like, Deion Sanders isn't a power up though. Like, you don't have to do it to power ups.
I understand, Gut Fox. I understand.
Thanks. Texas, your next question.
We're still on the ratings, correct?
Yep.
Rating. Do I have any more? Do I have anything?
Well, here? I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So will Elite start at 75 overall next year to continue the trend?
I haven't heard that one yet. No.
Okay. And then to keep with that, like, what was the point in making the highest card class 80 overall? Like that's like on day one, those are like meh cards.
What was the reason behind it? I think who doesn't like seeing more red paint show up in their packs?
Texas, you want to take this?
I mean, so like during the first week, it's cool, right? Like, because you're getting elites in these packs, and it's fine. But in March, I don't get really excited until I actually like see the card. Like, so when I'm playing other games, like with MLB, you can see the diamond in the corner, and this year might not be as exciting since they lowered the overalls. But last year, if you feel a diamond, okay, it's gonna be a dope card. Whereas with Madden, with it flashing elite, 80 overalls compared to 99s are all exactly the same, and it just kind of takes some of the excitement away from actually pulling packs.
Well, I think that's a very different issue than why did elites start at 80. Talking about the reveals, and I'm not here to talk about things in the future, but
okay.
I think we're gonna have that under control.
That's very tittillating.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so we'll move on from that. Texas, did you find your next question?
No, I only have one thing about the MUT items and thresholds, so we can go to the next.
Okay. What Madden 18 chemistries? Did you guys actually think those were a step up from 17? Was that an iteration that was what made you guys proud? Like, okay, go on.
No, I mean, clearly they're not as powerful as they were a year ago. I think between the way that our player OVR formula plus the strength of our chemistry last year were, in our opinion, they were too strong. So, we took a little bit of a step back in terms of how much of impact that they were going to have, but it's still something that I see people uh, you know, during the year, there are definitely times where a new player comes out and they're like, he looks great, but he doesn't match my chemistry. So for me, I sort of see that and I'm like, okay, on one hand, people are talking about how chemistries don't matter and they're garbage this year. And on the other hand, they're like, but this player doesn't have the chemistry that I want to, so no thanks. So that there's got to be something to be said for that. That it's still important, but yeah, it was not MUT 17, and nor did we expect it to look like how strong they were in MUT 17.
Yeah. I think you guys have improved on it recently once we got the tier 5 with 18. I mean, that's giving toughness speed. You basically completely redeemed it. Before that, it was kind of like the laughing stock. Texas, do you have any thoughts on chemistries?
With this year, yeah, as lately they did a better job with the toughness tier 5 and physical front, all that stuff. I was wondering, were they supposed to be out earlier? Because it felt like this could have benefited coming out, let's say, November, December.
Yeah, I think this last chemistry update was pushed back a little. I don't recall what the original or the intended launch date was. I do think that it came out a little bit later, and I can't rattle off the reasoning why right off the top of my head. But yeah, I was definitely excited for Tier 5. Kind of an underrated thing that we did this year was we moved away from the pie charts on chemistry, which allowed us to do something like a Tier 5. Before, like, there was no way that we were going to go over 12, 15. I can't remember what it was. It was really hard, right? It started to get to the point where, like, you're starting to squint too hard looking at those pie slices. So one of the more underrated things that I was excited that we got away from was, going to more of a number based way of displaying your chemistry in that lineup screen.
I guess, I mean, makes little sense. I at first was reluctant, but then I saw the light, and I think it's better this way, with the visual. I really don't. Texas, you're the chemistry guy. I mean, that was your content in 17. I mean, are you fine with 18's chemistries now, or what would you like to see going forward? Any feedback on that?
Well, it's starting to go in the right direction with the dual chem stuff. Again, probably could have got that a little earlier, but at first, like, if we did this podcast, let's say 3 weeks ago, I would have had a little bit more objections to it because with a lot of the cards coming out, they had the same stock chemistries on them, and toughness at one point was pretty much unusable. Like, it's cool for, I guess, linemen for impact block and for some receivers that have low catching, but that was kind of the worst one. And then man coverage not really being an ideal thing. It just building around 3 chemistries on defense, 3 on offense, and then just both. It just wasn't as good for team building, I would say, as it was last year with all. I'm not too sure how many were in the game last year, but there were a lot more and allowed for more creativity, more different things you can do with your team, especially with the milestones. So stepping in the right direction. So I'm not as angry as I was at launch when I first saw this. And I'm glad you guys are actually fixing some of the problems that we've had with them throughout the year. Because now when toughness comes out, one of these Twitter reveals, you got to be like, please don't show toughness. Like, you can just show toughness. Everybody cares about that now.
Yeah. Are you guys going to iterate on it going into 19? Are we going to get completely new chems again? Are you guys rethinking it?
I don't think that will be a copy paste job. Okay. I think we'll go in there and take a look at it, and we'll see what else kind of comes with that. I'm excited to talk about it. Hopefully maybe we can make our like pre EA play or post EA play podcast a recurring thing going forward, and we could talk a little bit more about it then.
I like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be fun. And then, like, I know the competitive players hate red chems. Is there thoughts about, like, taking red chems out of salary cap but leaving them in MUT for, like, the rest of us, just to, because MUT's kind of more of a casual mode in my opinion, whereas, like, salary cap is the hardcore competitive. So is there talks about kind of splitting that a little or not?
I haven't had any of those discussions. I mean, I'm personally a fan of them. Those feel like difference makers to me. Like, when I'm trying to put together my lineup, I like having those additional weapons on my team. As far as that, again, if competitive wanted to do something with those, like, we have the tools for them. If they wanted to make putting those chemistries 100 cap value, they can do that completely on their own. And so I'm not going to build a feature that says this mode can have them, this mode can't. But they have, that's why something like cap value is a thing.
Yeah.
Like they have the tools there. So if they feel inclined to make a move like that, they can do that.
Okay. Tex, anything else?
No, nothing with salary cap or with the red chems. I do wonder, like, is it hard to make certain ratings matter with some of these abilities, because it kind of overrides. So with awareness and play rec, unfakeable doesn't really, it counteracts, like, so you would think awareness play rec would factor into not being spun out, but it doesn't. So unfakeable. So I guess going forward, will it be more of an effort to make some of those ratings matter without having abilities, or will it just be the abilities rule all?
Well, that's probably one of those, like, we'll continue to talk with our gameplay guys and see sort of where the future holds. I could see a world where the ratings matter and can get you to certain guarantees, and if you don't have those, or if there's still an opportunity to not have that guarantee, maybe the red chem or the chemistry abilities, what we normally call them, give you that, like, final, like, that last bit of assurance. So I think, like, a good example of that this year would be when they made the big gameplay update around, like, the spin move, where, like, the spin move really got tuned down, and, like, the opportunity for user controlled defenders to get faked out. They still can. That's still a thing, from what I hear from gameplay.
Yeah.
If you don't have unfakeable, you still can get faked out when you're the user defender. But if you have unfakeable, that's that extra, like, okay, it's not going to happen. So I think that could be potentially something that I would point to for where we might try to take it, but still kind of up in the air right now.
Okay. One last question I just thought of on the red chems. So footsteps and what was it? Oh, shoot, what was the other chem?
Footsteps, under pressure, lead the way.
Yeah. So
And,
footsteps and under pressure. We haven't seen a second card come out for either one of those. Also, what's the like the third down pass rushing one, Tex, and
situational
pass rusher, and the one that
situational pass blocker.
Yeah, so the pass rusher and pass blocker, are those going to come back at all, or are those going to make themselves into the game? Or is there any plans for that?
So with under pressure, I mean, the feedback was heard kind of loud and clear. That was something that like crossed a moral line for players. And from our side, we also didn't do a good enough job of making sure that there was a counter to it on the other side of the ball. We didn't have any sort of new quarterback chemistry that could have offset that. Funny enough, small side rant, I use that Khalil Mack all the time, and I feel like I never get that thing to activate. So it was like I felt like to some degree that outrage was a little overblown, but I get it, right? People, that was something where players didn't like that another player on the team could impact them by simply having an ability and doing nothing else. Like it would change a potential outcome just because a player had a certain thing. For us, again, when I talk about why we would build something and, like, it comes from a good place, we are always trying to find ways to make players feel different and unique. And something that is true to football that we hear every Sunday with our favorite teams is, hey, Aaron Donald didn't make the sack, but that pressure on that play forced Drew Brees to make an inaccurate throw. Right? That's sort of like the spirit of where something like that comes from. It doesn't come from hey, I want to make somebody throw an inaccurate pass that they have no control over. It's coming more from the side of, we really want this player to stand out. What's something unique that we can give them?
That makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
And if you can't get that chemistry to activate, it sounds like you need more edge blitzes.
If you got the setups, slide in my DMs. No.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, again, we heard the feedback. It was something that, okay, we get it. We're not going to try and rush us out into other things. When people heard about what footsteps might be, that's another one that we felt crossed that same sort of line. Again, the thought there being, hey, a Cam Chancellor, for instance, if you put footsteps on him, this is a guy who has a presence on the field. Again, something that we've all seen watching football of, hey, he felt the footsteps coming, and he sort of gator armed that intended pass. It's something that we see in here, but for a video game as it currently plays is something that the players don't feel fits for us. So we're trying to respect that and see, again, at the very least, we need to make sure that we have counters for something when we introduce elements like that to the game.
That makes sense. Counter for footsteps is possession catch, because I have footsteps Barry Church, and he doesn't drop. Nobody drops passes but halfbacks. Like, dudes throw the ball literally right next to him in possession catch, and the ball doesn't get dropped. So it's not complaining about footsteps. Shit don't work.
Well, and those things are still in the game. Like, there's still like a catch penalty with people near them. There's still a quarterback accuracy penalty with people near them. So it's just amplified a little bit, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. Again, not being a gameplay guy to talk with, but yes, that's my understanding. There are nearby defender penalties and things like that. That again, that's truly coming from a place and a desire to, again, MUT 17. I mean, how many times was that a common theme? Like, all these guys play the same, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that players don't feel that way.
Yeah, I for one agree with that goal. I like that a lot, that these players actually feel like they're the real players on the field.
Reflect their ratings, which is great. No more, like, I'm not running out with budget gold cards here and winning games. You got to go get a good team now.
Yeah. So moving on, Texas UK moving on from abilities.
Yeah,
okay.
I nothing else on ratings.
All right, so
abilities and chemistries.
So in the interview yesterday, you said, this year we took the approach of assigning a particular program to each one of our content designers, and they were giving freedom to pitch whatever they wanted to the rest of the team. Now, I got a question. Are these content designers cribbing off each other? Like, why does it seem most promos are the same thing? It feels like the teacher left the answer sheet out and everybody in the class just kind of copied it. It feels like it's just the same thing over and over again for each of the promos. Like, can you explain why they feel the same and why everybody came up with the same promo?
Well, that feels a little unfair, but I the overall message that I hear, I hear what your overall message is. So if you have particular examples or things that you may have done more differently, right? It's go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Like, so with a lot of the promos, it feels like we get lower end cards, we put them into sets to get a higher card, and then we use that higher card to put in another set to get the master card. And it feels like it's been that way for a few promos now. Like I said in the past, that it just feels like this type of promo pisses off the least amount of the community. So you guys are doing it again and again, because like we don't complain, and the only thing that we would complain about is kind of just getting the same thing over and over, like, and it kind of gets like boring, or it just feels the same after a while, and it leads to like people talk about the lack of innovation in MUT, and that's something that I personally I love innovation in the game mode and the changing stuff. So that's kind of where this whole thing came from.
Got it. I think it goes back to some of our goals when we go and create a program, and we want to make sure that there are different tiers for different types of players to be able to reach. So if that comes across as feeling a little cookie cutter, we'll go and continue to try and find additional ways where we can sort of spice things up a little bit. But we've also seen when we try to do things that are different, that there's feedback there, and there's some criticisms, and
rest in peace, ghosts.
Rest in peace, Ghost, man. It's
yeah.
They were there. They were just called Snow Beasts this year.
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing.
So yeah, it's interesting, right? Like there's, and it's just things that I know and I have to respect when it comes to Ultimate Team. There are certain things that should be off limits. Would I ever come to the table and say, hey, most feared this year needs to be called like ultimate whatever pumpkins. Like no, like that thing's gonna be most feared for as long as I'm there. You know.
David Pumpkins, the headliner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen. I don't know if
you
you've seen that SNL sketch with Tom Hanks. Not that it matters. Whatever. But sorry to cut you off. Go on.
No, it's good. So I mean, I think that's probably been one of my learnings from this year, and as long as I'm able to continue being a part of this ultimate team world, that will continue to be a thing where I'm constantly learning. I'm never going to be in a spot where I know everything. But one of my biggest learnings from this year is, the things that people have certain expectations for that should be there, and when they're not there or they're slightly tweaked, there are just some areas of our content that are much harder to change than others. So again, it goes into, and this is sort of where my answer was with the Game Informer article is, it's we have to find the right balance of innovation and respecting like the history of MUT.
I gotcha. Yeah, it makes sense. Texas, any other questions or comments on programs or promos?
So yeah, well, not really. Well, I asked Khalil this question with promos. Why does it? When was Khalil on with us? This is probably what, January?
Month? Oh no, yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah. With promos, it feels like during the first week or the first inception, when it starts, the people who pull packs are the guinea piggers, and then the second batch, y'all get it correct. So the example I used with the Christmas promo. The first set of gifts were not great, but then y'all corrected on the second go around. How do y'all go about making it right the first time? So that way I don't feel like I'm losing money by opening the first bundle, and then the second one comes out.
The first
much better.
Yep, first bundle's always worse than the second bundle.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we'll just we'll take that to the team, and if that feels like a consistent theme that players feel, what we need to make sure that we're doing a better job there. Things like gifts are always hard, and it's been the idea of not doing gifts has been floated around more than once, just because of all the challenges that come with them, with sort of this like, hey, here's this thing, and go analyze it and have other people tell you what it might be, and then get disappointed when it's not that thing. It's always a hard thing. It's something that we've tried to get better in. We've tried to, I think, recently with things like that, we've tried to like have the tier at least indicate like how good that particular item might be, rather than just completely guessing. So, but yeah, I mean that's a tough one, man. That's a really tough one. And again, it feels like when we go in there and we have those design discussions, the easy answer is, let's just not do gifts. But that goes back to that other like, well, if we don't do gifts, we're gonna get killed for not doing gifts. So it's a little rock and a hard place there.
Yeah, like, and with gifts, me and Texas love them because they're great views on YouTube. But like, I can see what you're saying there. Like, you guys used to have like packs and stuff in packs, like, packception. Like we get an all pro pack inside of a pro pack, then we'd open that. Like, so it's kind of like gifts through the year almost. Although like kind of gifts have turned into kind of just like delayed stuff, like with them being NAT and stuff. And that's not an issue. Like it's fun to kind of open in the morning and see what you got. But like, what do you guys think about bringing packs inside of packs back?
I'm open to it. I mean, I know it's not the spirit of what you mean, but like fantasy packs, when we create those, they are packs inside of packs, sometimes inside of packs. So we do that. But in terms of what you say in
randomness.
there,
Randomness.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's something that we should be able to do more of.
Okay. Texas, any other questions on that?
No, I don't have anything else on that. Just more statement stuff. Be kind of cool. I remember back with Madden 15 or 16, somebody won Super Bowl tickets from pulling packs.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that. That's like that's completely different.
That's not the same thing as packs inside of packs.
The real, that's, I mean, like when you get like real items inside there, those are way more headaches than like. Yeah.
Probably better off just doing one of those like MUT legendary giveaways on Twitter than doing it actually inside the packs. Because I guess people don't redeem it right away, like that one guy didn't, and it was wasted. Right. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so it's probably not worth it to do it that. But it'd be kind of cool to see it back. But probably if people were more responsible, you probably still have it back into the game. Yep. People don't be redeeming their cards that they pull because they just be sitting in their buying, like my man with his golden ticket last year.
With Mike Mack's golden ticket that he didn't know he got. Hey, Jeff, do you have any thought? Why did Mike Mack get a golden ticket? He thinks that was a mistake. He pulled his brother, who didn't open packs, got golden ticket 1 of 1 on PS4. Has there been any internal investigation of golden tickets and how people pull them?
I have no idea. Not spent 1 ounce of energy trying to figure that one out. I've not heard about that.
Oh, okay. Like apparently, like they said they pull. Mike says his brother didn't pull it, but somebody pulled 1 pack on his account, and there was 1 golden ticket in it on PS4, and it was number 1. So, he thought it was a very weird. He was on our podcast telling us a story. I thought it was a very weird situation, and we kind of agreed with him.
What was the working conspiracy theory?
He thinks it was a mistake with a customer grant. Like they granted him a pack that they meant it for somebody else, but they granted it to his brother on accident.
Was it like the opportunity to create a golden ticket, or like
they created the Todd Gurley last year?
We've never would grant somebody that ticket.
Okay, so Mike,
that makes that makes no sense.
Okay,
no, and by the way, we can't so it was numbered, right?
Yeah, 1 out of 10.
So little tech lesson on the numbered versions of items like that. It has to be pulled out of a pack. It cannot be like directly granted to somebody and like it has a number on it. Like if I were to grant myself a limited the first night train lane, it would show up as a 0 out of however many. For it to actually have a number on it, it has to get pulled from a pack.
Okay, is that why like MUT or like Ultimate Legend limited times and golden tickets are no longer limited time or numbered? Does that make sense? Is that why you guys got away from numbered cards, so that way you can just grant them all willy-nilly?
No.
Okay.
Hey, I like the numbered. I'd love to do more of those.
Yeah, can we get numbered golden tickets back this year?
Numbered golden tickets back this year. Maybe. The thing that I would love, just when it comes to numbered, I would love for us to build a feature that lets me get rid of the denominator. Like if I was able to do something that just had the number that you pulled, I would do that in a heartbeat. I don't know what would your thoughts be on that?
It's like 14, 15. So like 14, not 14 out of 1,000, not 14 out of 2,000, just 14.
Yeah, because with the things like MUT Master and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It like like some people feel like it's weird to have it say 50,000 or whatever on it, or for instance when we did some of the Blitz ones and we had okay, they're only going to be available from this time, and then after that time we'll go back and we'll update with how many of them actually got out there. But like when you initially have it, is it weird to see like the 99999 on it? No. For me, it'd be really cool to just have the denominator gone.
I like the denominator. Then it helps me figure out things on the market, like supply and demand, and how much that card would be going for. I personally like it. I don't think it's a bad thing that it's there. Like I don't mind its aesthetics because it helps me learn about the number of cards in the game and kind of like the population. And that's something I don't know if you guys want to get out there, but I personally really like it.
I have no preference. None at all, really. I just like seeing numbers on cards.
Yeah, just whatever.
I got you.
Hey, so why did you guys rename golden tickets to ultimate tickets last year? Were you guys are you guys afraid of being sued by Willy Wonka?
That was a joke, but I think that there, I think some people got cold feet thinking like that was a ticking time bomb, and I can't believe that we've been doing it for this long. Let's go ahead and be safe and just change the name.
Well, how old is that book? Is it into public? It's probably not into public circulation yet. So
Why not ultimate golden tickets?
yeah, go. Yeah. Anyways, Texas, any other show? Any other questions?
No, I got some for Master. Well, you want to? Can I change the subject?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. So with objectives in Madden, one of the cool things y'all added features, I think was since last year, where the objective list that goes in that you can do stuff to get other prizes for. I was wondering, so MUT Squads overall and solo objectives have not been updated since launch. So if you knocked all your MUT Squad games overall and solo objectives, you basically you can't do, there's nothing else to grind for. So is there any plans on adding more? Oh, and if you do add more, will you retroactively like reward, let's say, MUT Squad players who have 1,000 games already won?
So you're speaking my language. You're tugging at my heartstrings whenever you talk about squads. So just know that that's the way to my heart.
All right.
Answering your second question will help me give you the reason why I have to answer the first question the way that I do. I don't think that there's a way for me to go and retroactively give you the wins that you've already gotten during that time. So if we were to add new list, I feel like I would just be pissing people off.
Got you.
That have already, like, we're sort of like at the point of no return on that particular front. What it does mean is we have to do a better job and feel comfortable going further than what we did this year, knowing that there are going to be players that continue reaching that point. The tough thing with something like solo challenges is how many are you going to create in a year? Like if I made I'm going to exaggerate it, but if I made one for 5,000 solos and there's not going to be 5,000 solos out there, am I just pissing people off trying to chase something that we won't actually make enough content for them to hit? So that one's a little tougher. But again, that's not to say that when we're getting close to that final threshold, okay, cool, we need to really consider putting another objective list right behind it so that we don't run into this issue. So so that one's a little bit more challenging. Something like, any sort of online wins should be much easier because that's just an unlimited drip, right? That's as much time the player wants to invest in that one particular thing they can. So I totally hear you on that. I have over 400 wins in squad, so I would love to be getting some extra rewards there as well. So it's a really good note, something that we'll make sure we continue having more support for. It's great, and thanks for calling out that was something that we got right this year.
Yeah, I mean it's just extra things for grinding. So outside of the coins you're getting from playing the solo, a task that pops up, like he played 1,500 and here's the extra 250. Like it's just awesome being rewarded for playing the game in all facets. So only thing that's on here is just next list we need just for money spenders. Like you spent $1,000, here you go.
We're not doing that. But for the one thing that came to my mind for the squads one specifically is, we launched this year without squad seasons, and I was being as much of a squads advocate as I am, I was absolutely scared that it would have a novelty for 2 to 4 weeks and then people would just go away, having that there was no extra stakes winning your 200th game versus your first game. So that's why I really, really pushed hard to make sure that there was an objective list that helped players still feel incentivized to continue playing that mode when at the time the feature only supported a 1-game event.
Yeah, I feel like the John Madden coach was what it is now at the beginning. It would have been a lot more people. It would have been like that would have been a perfect reward right there. I want to play. I'm like, nah. I was playing squads at the beginning of the year, but now it just evolves into I just got to do head to head now for the Dick Lane and weekend leagues. I ain't got time for it right now.
So you can get those wins in squads though for Dick Lane, right?
You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so it's there. So did you ever think of something doing similar to John Madden for head-to-head players, like a Vince Lombardi with similar boosts?
This particular year, no, we did not.
Okay.
Just sort of as a again, it's so hard not to talk about some things in the future. But I think as a whole, what I've seen from this year is a goal of mine is to try and do a better job of unifying the online experience. So like there's not as much of this like, I need to go play squads so that I can go get this piece of exclusive content, or I need to play head to head so I can go get the series 4 master and things like that. I'd love to find an opportunity to bring all of that together.
I gotcha. And talking about objective lists and stuff, so because you make a really good note right there, people should take note of that. You make this Sean Taylor grind, like, so we complain about the rushing yards and passing yards for the Sean Taylor grind. Was it like 75,000 of them? And then you brought it back for the Night Train Lane with the passing yards. Just like, it doesn't feel very masterful to play full game solos, just throw streaks for 15 hours on end to get your passing yards, or rush the ball to try and run up the score for these full game solos. Why did you bring back passing and rushing yards for the master completion list?
I think it's probably, I don't know. I'm sure there are better things to do, but for us, it's about what can we do that encourages people to play, and that we just want people coming back in and playing the game and coming back on a consistent basis and feel like they have a reason to. It's not it's how some people consume it, but it's not meant to be like, hey, you need to just go bury your head in an arcade solo and just throw bombs for 12 hours to do this. It's really more in the spirit of come in and play, and as you're playing, you're accumulating these stats that are ultimately working towards something. And if you want to go super ham and hardcore and get that thing faster, you have the opportunity to go do that as well. But it's not, the intent is not like, hey, just go do this thing over and over and over to where it feels monotonous, and so you're ready there on day one. That's how people choose to consume it. Like I can't stop that, but
yeah, because similar things happen with the level cap. Like when you raise it from 40 to 50, people just went into one solo and repeated it for 10 to 15 hours. Texas, you did something like that, right?
6 hours, bro.
6 hours of sitting down doing one solo over and over for the rewards.
Damn YouTube, man. Damn YouTube.
Yeah, for the YouTube vid, and a lot of other, there was a significant amount of other people that did the same thing. So how do you create these kind of like rewards and these things, and also make it enjoyable for us to play the game to get those rewards? And is it just something like, if you want them quick, you're just going to have to suffer?
Well, I don't ever want it to be a suffering. To me, like, if there's a one particular solo that people are playing because that's like rewarding more than what it should, like that's just bad on us. We have to find ways to make sure that those type of experiences don't exist. But yeah, I mean, there are certain people who just want to go out there and like be sort of like that community leader who is reaching that next level and tweeting out like, here's what you unlock, and like they're like going through this journey and they want to share it with everybody else, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get there as fast as they can. To some degree, I really can't stop that. I can try to find the loopholes that people might be doing that are getting there way faster than it should be, but again, for the majority of our players, I want that to just be as I'm playing the game, I'm unlocking, or I'm progressing and I'm unlocking things, and this is really cool. Not necessarily this like, oh my god, I gotta get to level cap as fast as I can. I mean, we put way too much effort into producing like a level cap increase. To we're not sitting here thinking like, we want players to be done with this in 6 hours. Like, no, like that's not the intended way that we want people to consume that content.
Gotcha. Texas, you want the next question? I'll be right back. Okay.
Gotcha. I like the suffering though when it comes to certain challenges though. Like with MUT Master, I like the whole doing all this stuff even for just one major payoff at the end. But with the grinding, would it be better, or like, so we get double XP for solos sometimes? Maybe would it be better for people to actually, instead of going into a solo and just throwing streaks for 15 hours, like maybe have a double yards for head-to-head games in the future, so people can, like, if they were 400 yards, they 800, but only in head-to-head games. So that way people are actually having to engage in playing with other people.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know if the tech right now would support something like that. I mean, when we built MUT level, that was a brand new feature,
Mm-hmm.
and things like XP is, we can do more when we're building something from the ground up than something like uh, stats, which have always been there, and you're sort of more or less like plugging into something that already exists there. There's nothing that necessarily lets us say like go double what your passing yard output is for a particular game. I think it's a really cool idea, something that I'm going to write down and see, how hard would it be to add something like that? Because, yeah, I agree. At the same time, that's it's a little bit of a weird. My mind kind of goes to like, how would we go and message it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it would be weird as somebody who maybe even is a really engaged MUT player to see a message of the day that was like, earn double passing yards this weekend. Like that, you would really have to know like exactly what that was intended for, rather than like at face value that sounds like a really odd thing
It really does.
to tell somebody, But I totally get what you're trying to say, right? It's about like it's ultimately about trying to reach a big milestone, and with a lot of those being stat based, I totally get what you're going for.
Yeah. So I think Cut Fox is probably still gone. So I guess we'll continue on with the. I guess we'll go MUT. See, this is why he's a good host, because I'm not. All right. So back to the whole MUT Master grind. One of the guys on Twitter wanted to know what's going to happen with the MUT Master collectible, and he said, please do not say loyalty tokens.
We are still putting a plan together on what we're gonna do there. I would agree that a loyalty thing would feel like a little bit of a cop out. So I what's interesting for that, I took a look at it fairly recently, and because just the way that we sort of like constructed that content differently. Like you got the Sean Taylor from the objective list, but then there was a collectible that you go and put into the set, and then the set gave you some more things, and that unlocked the other objective list, and then beating that second objective list, I think, is how you got this final collectible. Am I right?
Yeah. All that.
So what I wish would have happened is I wish that collectible would have come from the original objective list. It's hard. It's challenging, much more challenging for me to make people go and like complete the second part of it, because they're already a MUT Master. But then to go complete the stat portion of it just to get that token is a little bit of a tough thing for me to try and ask players to do. And then the other thing, this is a classic case of like doing something that the players really loved, but there's consequences to it. And that is with the MUT Master upgrade, right? Like now a lot of people are rolling with their 98 Sean Taylor. That 98 Sean Taylor is not contributing stats towards that original MUT Master stat objective list. You have to be playing with the 95, right? I think it's 95 Sean Taylor.
Yeah, 95. Yep.
So it's another tough thing where now I'm asking the players to like take the best guy out, go put the other guy in to earn the stats, to get the collectible, to get whatever the reward might be. So it's a juggling act. There's a little bit of a mess there that we have to clean up, but I definitely want to make sure that we pay it off.
Gotcha. Okay. Jack Fox.
To circle back to a question, I just found this. I just found this from the document. To circle back to the ultimate tickets, are you guys gonna let sites like Muthead and Reddit pick one this year? Like you gave Muthead one last year. What's up?
Yeah, I would be open to it. I'm encouraging that. We'll see if we're able to make that happen.
Sweet. So confirmed here, right? Yeah, we'll just confirm it. And we'll congratulations, Reddit. We made it. Anyways, I'm just joking there, but we'll see. Hopefully that happens. Hey, are we ever gonna get stat tracked in MUT?
One of the things that some of our guys ask about constantly. I'd love to. I know that there's a big audience that would love to have it.
And if you do it, don't make it like MLB The Show where they combine offline and online stats. That's useless. Just like if you could separate them, that would be better. But online, obviously, I'd like head to head. I prefer over offline stats.
I hear you. I hear you.
Gotcha.
One day I hope to reach there.
Awesome. So I can keep going through Texas. You got any other questions?
Yeah. So back to Ultimate Master. I got two more
sorry.
there. With mid-season Master, was there plans for one to come out, or was the goal all along to go from MUT Master to Ultimate Master?
I wouldn't say that was the plan all along. That's just sort of the way things worked out. And I'm sure the natural follow-up is like, why did I not have to do MUT Master to get into Ultimate Master? And that's just one of those things where we wanted to try and make it a little bit more accessible for players this year. That again, I get it. That's the way that things kind of always have been and were. But again, it's really hard for us sometimes to go in and put the effort and make something that's really cool and only make it for a certain segment of the audience. Like it feels we just want to be a little bit more inclusive in areas where we can. So hopefully, I know that there was some pushback, but hopefully that's something that people sort of can get behind and understand. It's going to be one of the best players in the entire game, and there wasn't too much that you had to do to go get it. So hopefully people can celebrate more of that aspect to it than the hey, like this should be more of an exclusive thing.
Yeah. Awesome. And then
I was just going to talk about our comments last week. Me and Texas, we talked about it being fairly easy to get, and now that you said that it's auctionable, I kind of like, I'm fine. I'm fine with whatever you guys decided to do with that to make it a little easier for people to get, and so everybody's gonna be able to use them. And I mean, it's not exactly like masterful because it's actually fairly easy. I mean, I know some people will have trouble getting 50 online wins, but it's kind of like picking issues with it. Like I had a video about like how achievers want like a big grind to go for, and this is like a nice grind for 2 weeks, but after that, like we had a grind for like 3 or 4 weeks once the game launched for Sean Taylor, and then now we have a grind here for 2 weeks in March. I don't know. It feels like the achievers, the people that really want to grind for stuff in the community are kind of being, I don't know, forgotten. If that's the right word.
I would hope they don't feel like they're forgotten. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Good.
And they can always grind for Coach Madden and squads. But that, I guess, was the only issue we had with that short grind here for Night Train Lane.
My issue was I just like suffering, like Jake was talking about. I just like being able to just make myself do something stupid, like grind solos and do sets, and it's just been tradition for the past 3 years, man. Like it's just get out here and grind for something that takes 17 that just kills my health, but I enjoy it after.
It's really tough, again, it's you say like, are you ignoring the grinders? The guys who go and attack those things like Texas does when a level cap increase comes, that's not the norm. Like that's not, we have plenty of grinders. Grinders does not necessarily mean like I'm going ham until I get this thing done. Like there are plenty of players who are going there and grinding it and getting their couple hours in. Okay, I'm coming back tomorrow, getting some more of it in, and they keep going and they have stuff to do. As much as I hear people who talk about, hey, there's not enough to do on MUT right now, there's plenty of other people that I'm not hearing from that are also that probably feel overwhelmed. Like there's so much in this game. Like where do I even go? Where do I start? There's too much to do. How does this work? What's a chemistry gate? Like, there's it's a tough balance, and that goes to that. Who are you trying to serve? We're trying to serve everybody. So we're I hear you. I hear you on the grinders and the people who are hardcore enough to listen to something like this. I totally hear you, and we're going to continue building more.
I gotcha. Are there any other audiences you don't feel like have been pleased as well? Are there certain ones that are harder to please than others? And do you feel like you've catered too much towards one side over the other this year, or do you feel like you're pretty well balanced?
I always feel like when one side is potentially getting overserved, or we're leaning more towards one side, I feel like I jump on and talk with you, and it's the opposite. So I don't know. I guess I'm not a good gauge for when it comes to that. Again, I had a similar question, or I had a similar answer in the Game Informer interview, where every player, I think, feels like we're building something for somebody else. And hopefully what that translates to is we're trying to build something for everybody. It's impossible for me to deliver a piece of content that speaks directly to you, the specific person listening to this podcast, because each one of you are very different players at very different points of your journey who care about very, very different things. So it's definitely one of the more challenging parts of the job.
Yeah. Hey, any of the programs you feel like were big misses this year for just like hitting targets or anything? Like I personally couldn't care less, but I think a lot of the community hates Bo Jackson now.
I would say in terms of a program, the out of position was the one that felt like the most like, okay, there might be some fatigue here, or again with the Bo Jackson thing, we may have took it too far. So that would probably be the one. But again, if you consider Power Ups a program as well, I think we already know how you feel about that.
Fair point. Yeah. Texas, any thought? Like, okay, well, back to that with the Bo Jackson. All right, one final thought for me. I don't care. Like I'm a big fan of you guys trying and innovating new things. I think with the Bo Jackson, people are angry because he was the best card at a lot of positions. But I'm down for that. I mean, a lot of people look at the game like competitive guys. They want more realism, or like the realism guys. Like I think MUT is supposed to be fun, and seeing Bo Jackson out there like a 90-something speed right tackle, it's like that's kind of funny. I think he was good, and he was one of the best right tackles. But then you couldn't use him at halfback. He was also the best halfback. So I actually didn't mind the Bo Jackson every position. I think people kind of got their panties in a bundle. A little bit we just hate on EA in general. So that was just another one of the things we could like add a feather to our cap, because it was just something to complain about. Texas, what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't have any objections with Bo being all over the field. I just think people probably thought it was just like easy way to go about doing the master program for it, but I enjoyed that portion of it. I wouldn't say that was probably the biggest miss.
What would you say?
I'm trying to think what the biggest miss. I was going back to the Rolodex thinking like what promos were a big miss this year, and I'm trying to think. So I'm gonna
probably one of the ones earlier in the season, maybe before Halloween. I know a lot of people complained. October was a big complaining month, if I remember correctly.
I mean, probably the cornucopia pack. Was that this year?
Yeah, that was. Yep.
That was probably the biggest miss, I would think. Probably that, because I don't think the Thanksgiving, that portion of it was great. But everything else has been kind of the same. So, like, if you have a knock on one promo, you have a knock on all of them. They've all been pretty much kind of clones of one another.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Thanksgiving, also had the Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
It had the players that were tied to the real world performances, and it was awesome that like most of those guys all hit. And they're real, like Xavier Rhodes got the interception and all that. So like there were a lot of really good things that came with that too. But yeah, the cornucopia pack was like one specific element of a program that was that we definitely heard plenty about.
Yeah, I like the concept of the pack though. But like if you went back to like Madden 15 where there was like 4 amazing players only in that one pack, I think that would have been ideal. Like to get that, just to have that specialty one pack that's so huge that kind of everybody's pulling a lot of. Like it's like just basically a huge couple 100,000 coin pack that was, I don't know, kind of an exciting pack that returned bad value. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier with packs being good value versus bad value, and that's kind of the trade-off in MUT. So, hey, one thing about Bo Jackson that I don't think anybody could argue with was the fact that he brought a kicker and a punter to the market. why are kicker and punter so rare in MUT? And shouldn't they be like in real life, just cheap and basically fungible?
So we probably went a step too far with it, but I think the overall goal there was to not have those guys show up so much. Like the last thing people like, they were probably just too common in the past, and if you were guaranteed a gold and a pack and it was a kicker, like you felt like it was just kick in the butt. So we sort of just approached it a little differently this year. We wanted it to feel a little more special when one of those positions came through in a pack, and we definitely achieved that. But did we go too far? Potentially.
Yeah. Hey,
it's funny because I pulled packs for the Demaryius Thomas limited time, and I pulled them twice, but the kicker was going for more than the limited time. So but I enjoy it. I enjoy the red chems on the kickers and the punters, making them rare, because you actually focused an effort on kicking this year. Because in years past, people were out here with gold McManus, 99 kick power the rest of the year, and there was no point upgrading. So I do like that they were as rare as they were, because they actually needed to be, so you can go out and get a good kicker instead of using a bunch of bronze and gold ones. So I think it was good. I don't know if Gut Fox was the same way about it, but I thought that them being as rare was a good thing.
Yeah, I don't like it, but it is what it is. Like I prefer cheap kickers, and it's just like a nothing part of the game to me. It's just special teams. It should be consistent.
It's nothing part of this game. I mean, 9 games you won on the last second field goals and a focus kicker.
I know, but again, it should be an automatic thing, like in my opinion. So I'm gonna circle back here. Remember last year when we had our interview, about 10 months ago, like we said earlier, I suggested a mode that had rotating weekly rules or changes to the game, like 7-on-7, Santas versus Elves, or Golds only, or so on. Kind of like a casual game mode, 2-minute quarters. You basically, you guys change this mode up weekly. Well, now we see, not to bring back Fortnite, the comparison we made earlier, they're doing their 20 versus 20s, their blitz modes, and so on. Now everybody's saying how awesome Fortnite is for doing stuff like that, changing the game up, making all these different modes every week. So I just want to say 2 things. 1, I told you so. It was going to be awesome. 2, when are we getting that in Madden?
You were right. You were right. If you weren't so hard to track down, I'd love to bring you in to get more of these awesome ideas so we can get out ahead of it.
Yeah. I was gonna say something smart, but I didn't want to cut you off. Like something stupid, actually. Anyways, I'll let you go.
When's it coming to Madden? Hopefully as soon as possible. I mean, those type of things are really appealing. I can remember my first year at EA. I was just a contractor, and I started to have all these big ideas too. This is the best thing ever if somebody could just listen to me. And these were similar concepts. When I first came to Madden, my first job was producing Madden Moments Live, and at the time it really felt like that was the only like bite-sized experience of Madden that you could get. And so I was trying to bring more of that to other areas of the game. So I'm right there with you. Hopefully, awesome. We're able to find opportunities like that, because again, even if we couldn't go and get 45 minutes of someone's time, that's really that's big, right? Like, yes, most people who are listening to this or on my timelines, they're way beyond that, but like just having that is huge for Madden. So I hope that is something that is on someone's roadmap. I would fully support something like that. I think it's I think how I feel. It'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very encouraging. I'm kind of hyped then for 19. Texas, any thoughts about any like modes or little fun mini games that adding to MUT or anything with the cards or whatnot?
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool, because I was wondering with the events, so with the weekend league being put into Madden this year, I was hoping for more kind of like MLB type events, or like where you had bronze and gold, where you had to have a certain lineup eligible to play for that. And so I was wondering how come we didn't see a lot more this year, but if we're going to see some of that next year, that'd be really awesome. I think that'll add a lot of excitement to the mode, freshen up some things so people aren't going to the same week doing the same thing over and over again. You got to get more creative on offense and on defense to be able to beat other people's schemes that aren't out here just solely based on 91 route running and 91 zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we, hopefully we can get to points like that, and when we do, I don't, trying to think of what that world might look like. I don't think that, that could be the norm. Like, I feel like that's got to be the thing that's in there every now and then that sort of feels like a different experience. Mm-hmm. To your specific point of feedback around, sort of like what we would call lineup restrictions. Right now, I'm scared to do that until we actually build something like MLB has, that as soon as you jump into one of these events, like, we've sort of massaged your lineup to already like meet most of those requirements, if not all of them. And it's a simple like, yeah, I'll take that lineup and I'll go, and it's super easy and accessible. Whereas right now, we would basically require you to go hand do that all yourself, and that's a really challenging thing to ask the players to do. I feel like if we were to do that in a weekend league now, we would see a huge drop off in the participation rate. So there's some other things that I think need to come with that, but I'm definitely in your boat of like, those are opportunities that we should strive for.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Texas follow up.
Yeah. No, I mean,
okay. Hey, so another thing on like, what's that?
That was just like mumbling. I was like, no, I don't have anything else. I'm looking like, is any more words gonna pop up? No, that's all I wrote.
It's like Michael Scott. Sometimes you start a sentence and you don't exactly know where it's gonna finish. Hey, so talking about with changes to modes and stuff, though, it's like MUT Squads, near and dear to your heart, like you said earlier. Has there ever been a thought? I know the MUT team built it, so that's why you kind of built it in MUT. But has there ever thought of like going like the 2K or NHL route, where like you build your created player through experience earned on the field in MUT Squads?
That's not something, that's not the direction that we took the mode right now. We thought it'd be really compelling to like just use your MUT content and have that be sort of the thing that makes that mode feel new and has a sense of progression during the year. Those other games, like that model works and other ways as well, and successfully. But for right now, the way that Squads is built, that's just not the direction that we ended up taking it, right? Because
mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing, right? I know MLB's right around the corner, so it's always easy to talk about them, and got a lot of respect for what they do. And definitely wish them all the best coming up. But like, one of the things that they do that I always was very curious to see sort of like what their community would react to was their created player, and how that created player was sort of integrated into their Diamond Dynasty. And I mean, for me, I would still have very cold feet with trying to introduce that element into Ultimate Team, where I go match up with Texas Boy and I see Texas himself as part of the top 3, and he could be like almost like whatever position he wants to be. That's not something that like my mind is ready for yet. But
yeah, I agree with you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hate MLB's create a player, the cap in game. They limited it this year to more like archetypes and stuff, so it's not going to be like the best player at any position possible. I agree that'd be a tragedy for MUT to bring in something like that. But I was just thinking like if you progressed them and could only use them in squads or something like that with like a, I don't know, base team. But I guess, I mean, it is what it is. You guys went your route. I know people are complaining about 2Ks this year being very. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about 2K. I don't play the game, but I know people complain.
It's broken.
It's broken? Okay.
It's I play 2K like almost every night, and there's a lot of things that are wrong with that game. That's when Rex came on here, he had that big brag. Like, look at 2K's user rating meta score. Yeah, he's right. It's not a fun user experience in 2K. Yo, Jake, if y'all ever pull a 2K and make me walk around a virtual world to buy packs, I'm done playing Madden. I'm coming down to Orlando. Let you know that right now. Coming down to Orlando, we're gonna have to talk about this. So dumb.
So hey, the trade block in 18, that was the big news in our last podcast. You saying it's gonna be back for 18. Basically, prior to 18, you were able to trade cards and still have them remain auctionable. That's no longer the case in 18. Do you think the trade block changes made the game better in 18? Is that something that's going to continue forward into 19? Or is there any news in the trade block? Any talk about it, or are you just going to leave it alone?
Yeah, no new news there. I suspect that we'll take what we've built this year and do the same thing next year. I don't have a certain metric or anything like measure of success that I can give you there, but everything from what I've hearing, that's been something that's worked well for us, and we'll just bring that over.
Okay, Texas, do you have another question or any comments on the trade block?
Well,
okay, sorry.
Well, the trade block, if you could trade power ups, that'd be cool. Besides that, my last question would be, why doesn't MUT Drafts or salary cap games count towards Night Train Lane wins?
Yeah, so we took the template that was there for the other seasonal online list that we ran over the year. Like, we had a most feared list, we had a zero chill list, and all that stuff, and all of those did not include those two modes. And so we used that same template for Ultimate Master, which, yes, going back, I do wish that those other game modes should have counted. There's no reason why they shouldn't. But at the same time, I was happy to go that route versus in MUT Master, where we sort of split it up. Like, it's funny. I've played and won 400 games of squads, but I'm not a MUT Master this year because I have not played head to head. Like, that feels semi broken. Uh-huh. So I was really adamant about, like, okay, if we're gonna do this, like, let's make sure that it's more online modes are included for that particular objective, rather than putting value in making sure that players are playing all the different modes. I prefer, like, letting players play that they want to play, and I already know that online is a big hurdle for a lot of the players as it is. So trying to make that a little more inclusive was important. But I hear you on that. If we could have done it over, I would have liked to have included those other two events as well. I guess at it's definitely a little excusey, but like just a little cold feet with, like, semi implying that you should be playing modes that require you to make an investment to earn wins that track from there, felt like could be something that could get misconstrued the wrong way. That that would be like the only sort of initial reason why they weren't included from the get-go.
Well, I understand MUT Drafts, because last year that was a big deal where people were MUT Master without actually playing MUT games. And so I understand. I can understand why MUT Drafts doesn't count towards it, since it's not a MUT team in a sense. Salary cap, that just seems like that just got forgotten.
Got it.
Hey, so why does it feel we don't get as many daily updates in 18 like we had in, like, 16, for example? Seems like we just get, like, the replay Tuesdays, a couple limited time cards on Thursday, and then the promo drop on Fridays. Very similar schedule to 17, I believe. And I think we even talked about it on the pod last year, that it felt better having more, like, scheduled stuff dropping daily for, like, cards. Why did you guys kind of get away from that model?
Well, so I mean, we wanted to take, and I'm sure I'm just opening myself up for a big bullseye on this one. We definitely wanted to take the approach of more quality over quantity this year. And while I'm sure that there are definitely examples where you can say, like, yeah, but you messed up this or you messed up that, I think by and large, and by some of the metrics that we track, we have had a cleaner year in terms of less issues making it all the way to prod. I say this a few days after we put defensive chems on an offensive limited player. I get that. However,
I'm already making a meme about it. Yep.
I think by and large, it's been a better year in that terms. The other thing is, there's not one day, except, well, not even with Sundays now, because we have the Sunday solos as well. But there's not one day where we're not actually having some piece of new content be available in Ultimate Team. Now, is it always something that appeals to every particular player? Is it sometime or Wednesdays less of a content drop than Tuesdays? Yes, absolutely. Like they're definitely staggered in terms of how much content you're getting there. But we are always pushing something almost every day. So in that sense, it's that's where we have to try and reconcile that feedback, because you're not the only person who feels that way, with what we're actually already producing. Like, so we just have to go back and make sure that what we are putting out is is something that the entire community feels, or more of the community feels like is a worthwhile content drop.
Yeah, I think it's mainly all centered around, for many of us, cards and new players to hit the field. So even though we're getting solos and other content on other days, I think we're all just looking for new cards for the MUT mode, and that's kind of what the feedback's centered around. Texas. Oh,
I mean, would you take less players in Team of the Week? Like this year, we went a very different route in Team of the Week and gave you full teams.
Definitely.
Like as a very okay.
Yeah, I think Team of the Week was overblown this year. Like many of those cards weren't usable for many players. Like some of them, they weren't even very good, like budget players. So I would definitely take fewer Team of the Week if I could get more like different promos. Like we talked about Schefter Stars, more different promos through the week. Texas, what are your thoughts? Feedback?
Yes, that makes sense. I mean, you can also see different cards these power players up. So you can just
stop it.
You ain't trying to do that.
Stop it.
Right now, if you want, you can get an Eli Manning for $50K, 91 with conductor. Just saying.
You're the worst. You're the worst. Hey,
next question. This is gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, you're right. Hey, any teasers for the Easter promo? Trying to make some headlines here. Yeah.
With items inside.
Okay, we can't talk. All right.
No. I mean, so I would love to give you a little bit of a teaser here.
You probably need to clear it by your boss, though, right?
But not gonna do that. So I'll say, like, just as without giving like specific players or anything, I'm excited to try out a concept that someone on the team brought up, and I was like, I would love to try and do that. And that is, we're calling them tie-dyed players. It's sort of like an art. It's an art variant of that same exact player, who's already in the program. So it's the same player with the same stats, except the art treatment's different, and the quick sell value is through the roof. It's like, so one today is like, when we took a look at something today, like one of these guys was 350K quick sell that you could pull.
Wow.
And I was like, that's cool. Can we make him 500K instead? So we'll see if we get that. But
that's
so
crazy.
That's a really cool, interesting concept that I'd love for people to help out with that pack opening experience, get extra hype with this, like, whoa, what is this? And like, again, today is like, when we were taking a look at it in our review, I was like, we probably need to put something on the front to sort of like signify that this thing's different.
No,
like, hey, this was a rare.
Don't do that, because it'll make the auction house better. Yeah, got to take advantage of the people not knowing that. Like that way, that us high information players can that's fine. It makes sense to make it more. But you're quick selling the good art, though. Isn't that kind of like anti what you want? Like aren't your artists going to be kind of angry? Like I spent all this time on this fancy art, and now you're just telling people to quick sell and get out of their binder.
So here's the thing: the player has the choice. They no longer have to worry about sitting on that item and having it go down over time. That quick sell is always going to be there. So if they want to rock it, they want to play with it, awesome, show it, flaunt it off. They want to take the coins, you got the option. It's not going anywhere.
I like that a ton. Texas?
That's dope. Like that's pretty cool, because I know you were talking about that last week, I think, on a podcast, maybe a while ago about like having same card but with like different art on it.
Yeah,
And so
pretty
it's kind of cool that
convenient.
it's coming,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of cruel. Yeah.
Somebody out here taking Gutbox's ideas and is pitching it to Jake. Is that what we're doing?
I guess, yeah. Next they'll take what I think I was talking about, like shiny Pokemon or something, or like the ultimate art from Hearthstone, like the fan made art where like the players are actually busting out of the card. So it's like it was like, you know, because the shiny Pokemon are like different, like 1 out of 1,000. So this is similar, not the same, but like pretty cool. I like that. That's a good teaser. Thanks. I think we just replaced our headline from earlier. Right, Tex?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, one more before we get into a couple from Twitter. This is my last one. I heard MoonlightSwami recently got a job at EA. So what's the initiation like over there? Like, are we talking an incognito type situation, or a Happy Gilmore one where you tell him to show up to the 9th green at 9?
Definitely not incognito.
No bullying?
So
No?
I guess between those two, it's gonna be Happy Gilmore.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw that news too. I didn't even know that was something that was in the works. I saw his. I think I have him on Facebook, and I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So he's gonna be working on franchise, or is that something you don't even know if he's working on franchise?
I just found out. I don't even know. I mean, just kind of knowing, sort of like his interest and where I feel like his best fit would be. It's probably franchise, but I have not heard for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Congratulations to him. All right, we'll go through a couple from Twitter here. I don't think they're that long. Some of them might be a little bit longer, but we'll try and wrap it up quick. You've been with us, very generous with your time tonight, over 2.5 hours. Wow. So what is something you wanted to implement this year but just couldn't because of time restraints? Are time restraints common with every promo, or just Team of the Week as McCullough plays?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, nothing stands out to me in particular because I always feel like it's usually like a last minute thing before something comes out, or like wanting to react to a piece of content after it comes out. That's usually where I'm like, oh, can we do this? Can we do this? And sometimes there are some time or resource constraints that prevent us from being able to do all the things. So it's I don't have a specific thing that I can point to and be like, oh, I wish we could have done that, but it's something that I feel often, and a lot of the times actually we do get to do it, just not like as quickly as I would maybe hope. But yeah, so I answered that without answering it. Sorry.
It's okay. It's gotten really like
it just all like groups together at this point.
Yeah, I feel you. Why does MUT Squads require 3 people per team? Should only require 2 with option to play with 3. Ask MUT Savage _Inc.
Get his info and I'll give him whatever item in the non-limited item in the game. This dude just that might be my burner account. No, I look, you ask anybody in the studio, I pimp that so hard. That's one of my number one things. Again, being the squads guy that I am, sometimes it's hard finding the third. And for me, that mode is not built to just pick up a random. And so I'm tired of logging into MUT and just staring at the squad screen, waiting for my third. I would love to have the option to have duos. I think that's the next step to make that mode take off. So I'm all in. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not. DM me his info.
Really? All right, MUT Savage Inc. I'll send it to him. I'll send it.
You gotta use your cloud on Twitter. I mean, you gotta be like, yo, I need a third from MUT Squad. You get the whole community behind you. You might get somebody there trying to talk your ear off, but that might be the exchange for somebody that's competent.
So that's good. Like, send us in good questions, you'll get rewarded. That's awesome. Like, and also rate us 5 stars, and then maybe you'll get something too. No, I'm just kidding. You're not gonna get shit. Hey, so next question from Bob Loblaw tweets: are there thoughts around finding a way to not punish early promo participants? The rate at which promo cards tank is so high that taking part in a promo day 1 is a horrible idea. Yes, all cards lose value, but 40% drops within 7 days is excessive.
Yeah, I think Texas had a similar comment earlier. It's one of those things. I don't have an answer for you right now. If that's something that is consistently or a constant theme amongst members of the community, I want to make sure that we're finding better opportunities for that. You want to know something though, Gut Fox? I bet if those players are power ups, I bet they're not losing 40% value.
Exactly. Those are facts right there. My Kuechly has no value right now.
You can't lose value on 0. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, so next question. Where's the journey at? We need some dope players in packs, asked Logic Games. That was me. That wasn't his whole trade. Whatever. Yeah. What's up? Journey, where's it at?
Where's the journey at? We need to make another journey. Yeah, we do. I hear you. I hear you on that.
All right, fair enough. How do you guys go about picking legends in the game? Asked Gamer Dude J.
That is a process outside of my control. I know that we reach out to whoever we reach out to, and we sort of provide a list of players that we'd love to get into the game, and then 9 months later, a baby's made, and we have our legends.
So basically, is it weird that like you guys only get them for 1 year, or like can you try to offer like longer term contracts so that way it's not like one and done, so that way it's like they hit it and quit it if we're talking about babies, so we're not a one night stand.
Again, like I'm not on any of those contract negotiations. I mean, if it was up to me, I would have Vic ready to go. Whatever he needs, let's lock it up. But I hear you on that. Again, that's a little bit above my pay grade.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, Vic locked up for a long term. You probably want to be on Atlanta racing people for $10.
Is that a true story?
No, it was on Atlanta, the TV show. Michael Vick was racing drunk people outside of the strip club for money, 3-to-1 odds.
That's funny. I didn't know that. All right, so all right, that one was kind of asked about. That was asked by Texas. Sorry, I'm not gonna repeat that. Is EA willing to go on a deal-making spree with big colleges so they can get their jerseys and stadiums in the game? Hell, I'd pay $10 for some Bama shit without a second thought. Asked the Fallout God. That Fallout God.
Don't know if something like that would take place. I mean, the only thing that I can kind of point to was, this year with Longshot, we had Texas and Oregon in the game, and we were very explicitly told that those are things that we cannot give out as items in Ultimate Team. So,
sounds like you guys need better negotiators.
It sounds like there's some extra challenges there, and yeah, maybe we need to get a new negotiator.
Shots fired. I love it. Hey,
we need what, Obi-Wan, right? That's probably too deep of a cut.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi aren't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's harder to get them nowadays. I heard the numbers are kind of dwindled. But anyways. Why don't you tell us stats are important and have an impact? So many things like weight, strength. I don't know if this is more of a gameplay question. Aware play rec. Yeah, it's kind of a gameplay one from Bumblechen. I probably shouldn't have. But you know about stats and thresholds, right, Jake? Do the gameplay guys tell you, or they kind of leave you in the dark too?
I have a good idea on things like thresholds. Things like, it sounded like the question was more like, what stats actually matter.
Yeah. Because Clint was kind of what's up? Go on, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Clint was kind of he didn't want to answer the threshold on QB accuracy question. That was kind of strange.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, is that just like a standing order at EA not to talk about that kind of stuff?
I think so. I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that goes out there and tries to spill the beans on anything. So if that's been the sort of the norm, that I'm going to just continue to honor that. In terms of like why aren't we telling you? I mean, again, it sounds like just more of a general gameplay thing. If Madden itself maybe needs to continue to do things that let you know, like, these are the areas where this rating comes into play versus this type of situation where this rating comes into play. I know I find myself from time to time asking those guys, hey, like what was sort of in play here. So I hear you on that. I hear you on, wanting to get as much information as possible.
Yeah, it's tough to play the game without knowing everything that's going on under the hood. I mean, Rex was fairly open with it. I mean, Rex was amazingly open with us on the thresholds that we asked about with the 91 zone coverage and stuff. We just didn't ask any other ones, unfortunately. Maybe we'll see if he's I don't know. We'll ask him next time and see if the answers change from the gameplay side. But that's it for that. I got one last question from Twitter from the Crayons Melt. What's the best way to get feedback to developers? Is it Twitter?
I mean, that's not a bad one. Again, I mentioned, shout out Kralo earlier. He's, this dude's a beast, and he's always writing us emails, and they are not short emails. He's very extensive with what the feedback is, where the concerns are, and he'll, directly, like, he'll link to tweets and things like that. So if you're looking for one single source, I hate to do it to you, Kralo, but it's him. I mean, he does a fantastic job for us, and he makes sure that we're well informed. And there's other community leaders out there as well, that I'm sure you can reach out to, and that feedback can find its way to me as well. But as one single source of truth, Kralo does a really solid job.
Yeah, we miss you on Twitter more. You've kind of taken a leave of absence to go study in dojos in China to learn karate or something. So it's unfortunately you left Twitter. Are you thinking about still kind of keeping the incognito in Twitter? Are you gonna come back and like Texas? We and him had this discussion a while back. I thought it was a very funny point made by Texas. Texas thinks EA guys should be more. What was it? Sarcastic, Texas? More snappy.
Yeah, more
Snap back more
spicy with people.
Yeah. It's terrible advice, but Texas.
Is it?
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's probably the worst advice I've heard. Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a way to go about it than going into hiding like is your Dark 30 mode, or like going to no. I like the interaction, positive or negative. Just interaction is important. Just non-interaction is I'm not really a fan of.
Yeah, I hear you. People have taken different approaches to it. I mean, for me this year, my character and my personality is not one that can pour my heart out and give everything that I have to what I do and what I love, and believe in what I'm doing and make the sacrifices that I'm making, and then look at my timeline and tell me how lazy we were. It's for my own well-being. That's not something that I can consume on a consistent basis. And at the same time, I feel very guilty and hypocritical if I were to go on there and only reply to the guys who are saying nice things to me, because there are plenty of guys who go out of their way to say very nice things, and I don't respond back to them now, because again, I don't want them to become a target either, because I've reached the point to now, like, even if I just were to respond to somebody about something that was possibly not even Madden related, like, they're going to get included in something. Like, people are looking at my account, they are looking at what I'm tweeting, even if it is not directly at somebody, and they will want to come in and try to take their shot. And so it's just it's part of the what I've signed up for, and I'm totally fine with that. But I've got 2 boys. They'll be 6 and 2 next month, and there's a lot of time where I'm sure they would rather me not leave Chick-fil-A by 10:30 every Saturday, so that I can be home and make sure that I can take a look at a content drop and respond to anything that might be going wrong, or help solve some of the issues that are going on behind the scenes. I'm sure there are plenty of other opportunities where they would like to see more of their dad, and I am choosing to make sure that I am working my ass off and providing them, hopefully a better future. And sort of as a man, that's kind of the way that I'm wired. I want to make sure that my family is being taken care of, and I've been afforded this amazing opportunity to come work on this game. It's something that I never ever would have thought or dreamed of. Being somebody who before this I sold irrigation for 10 years, and now all of a sudden I am helping build something that I've played my entire life and that I love. And there's really, honestly, it's cliche, but there's not a day that goes by where I don't remember and realize just how lucky and fortunate I am. So that's a long-winded way of just saying that it's the path that I've decided to choose. I'm still around, and I still look from time to time, but it's at this point with where things are at, it's definitely harder for me to engage. I don't want to be the guy that's only answering the softball questions or the guy that's only responding to the good stuff. That feels hypocritical. I don't want it to come across that way. So
yeah,
I'm sure some people think that the route that I'm taking is a worse way to go than what I'm talking about, but that's ultimately kind of what I've chosen to do.
Yeah, like I well said first, and secondly, I know what you're talking about. Like, so I'm just a dumb fox the internet making videos a day, and I take up maybe a couple minutes of people's time, and then even seeing the few negative feedbacks a day I get on YouTube and Twitter, like I can't imagine what a game developer gets. Like, these people put their 3 hours a day into your product, and then they get such a bigger audience that's super passionate, and people feel they have the right because they paid for the product to throw hate your way. It's unfortunate that's kind of the way our society has gone, but it is kind of the reality of the world right now. So I can definitely see why you've kind of decided to go about your way of doing it. I mean, many other people and game developers and Madden and stuff aren't on Twitter, and they don't have it. I don't understand. Like, you're talking about with people will respond to you no matter what you post. Same thing with like Rex. I don't know how Rex takes the abuse on a daily basis. That is a strong, I would say, willed individual. Texas.
He is.
Yeah.
He's so much respect for Rex, and he is the kind of guy who is wired that way. And while I never got to work with him, I definitely remember when Ian Cummings was in his creative role, and he was somebody who also could sort of take that. And hats off to those guys. But for me, even when I do see it, I do my best to try to channel that the right way, and I try to use that as fuel to make sure that when there are other opportunities in the future, that we're learning from the things that people don't like, because again, there's plenty of stuff that is out of bounds and should not be said towards anybody, but there's also plenty of valid feedback that I see as well. And so I do my best to try to channel that, and still, again, hopefully there have been times this year where a piece of content happens and it feels reactive, and that didn't just happen because of chance. Like, we're looking at that, and we want to be the type of unit that is able to react and do the quote unquote right thing when the opportunity presents itself.
Definitely. Texas, any last thoughts on that in general?
I had two suggestions about the Twitter thing.
Yeah.
You could hire an assistant to filter through all the bullshit and just pay him in MUT cards. Somebody in the community willing to do that. Should be like, yo, just get out here, find all the positive, constructive criticism, and then write and type it out.
That's what Kralo's job is, though, isn't it?
He doesn't cut out the negative, though.
Yeah, the negative's not cut out. Need somebody to cut it out. I'm pretty sure you can find some somebody who do it for like 1,200 MUT points, something like that. You can figure it out. And then 2.
That's like the second piece of advice that you've given me that's gonna get me fired. Hopefully this third thing's better.
I'm okay. It won't work. All right, I'm gonna not say anything. Be quiet now.
No, I want to hear the third thing. Like, let's make it
great.
Oh, the third thing.
Yeah.
So you can just retweet the compliments and then just get off. Find all.
Yeah,
all the
that's where
compliments,
like
just
you
hop
know,
Yeah, then people know.
retweeting, putting the positive stuff back in the people's faces who are following me, who are serving the negative, is only going to just chum the water. So
Yeah, it's called building a community. Just build it with positive people. You know, the only people that get feedback. Yeah, it's like training a dog.
I definitely don't need like yes sir guys either. Like, oh my god, everything you do is amazing, because it's not. Like, there's things that we need to get called out on when there were opportunities that were missed. But like, there are totally acceptable ways to do that, and you'd be surprised at how much further that type of feedback will go versus taking another route.
Yeah, so your rise to MUT dictator isn't going to go so well if you're not just putting in yes men. I heard dictators love that kind of stuff. So, well, maybe.
Thankfully, that's not the path that I'm on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess, yeah, it wouldn't have worked anyways. Hey, so thanks, Jake, for being on. I apologize for how late this went. Man, it's we held you till almost midnight your time. We appreciate it greatly, your time, your knowledge. Anybody in the comments, let us know if you have any questions. Of course, Jake's and Texas's stuff will be in the description. You check them out. Give them a follow on Twitter, Texas on YouTube. But otherwise, any last words, Texas?
I will see you at EA Play again this year, Jake.
Awesome. I'm excited to. Well, first off, fingers crossed that I get the invite and get the opportunity to come back out there. But I saw that it's back at the same venue. I thought that venue turned out really nice last year. The whole EA Play was hopping, but Madden especially compared to year one of EA Play, man, that was a huge difference. So I'm looking forward to coming back out there and getting the opportunity to show that off again.
Yeah, and if Texas is filming the screen for footage, just look the other way. We need that juice on YouTube. So, that got quite a few hits last year, the early Madden 18 footage. But anyways, Jake, I appreciate it again. Good sir, and you have a wonderful night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye-bye. 5 stars.